Musician Barry Honig is suing his ex-girlfriend, medical receptionist Lynn Fendley, for disposing of his personal belongings. Lynn says Barry stood her up on Valentine's Day.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 581 on the calendar in the matter of Honig versus Fendley. Has been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Honig, Miss Fendley is your former girlfriend. You spent some time at her home. You moved some of your stuff into her home. On Valentine's Day of this year, you really made her mad. It is your claim that she took all your stuff, she threw it out on the street, and destroyed a lot of it.
Yes.
Miss Fendley says she was pretty angry on Valentine's Day, and she placed your stuff outside. And you probably took it away, right?
Yes, I did. I just placed it out there.
How long, Miss Fendley, had Mr. Honig been living at your house?
For approximately about a year.
And what stuff did he have in your house?
Oh, clothes, he's a guitar player in a band. He had some equipment, just little knickknacks, a small little dresser, just odds and ends. He'd been slowly but surely moving stuff in.
Okay. Now, on Valentine's Day of this year, what happened that precipitated your moving his stuff out?
He never came home on Valentine's Day.
Shh. Shh.
All day, all night.
Where were you?
I was working, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a professional musician. I also have a day job that work for a real estate broker. On that day, Valentine's Day, she was still sleeping when I woke up. I went to my day job, and I had a gig, a performance that evening. I was expecting, to get home around, 2 or 3 in the morning, but...
Try looking at me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're up to 2, 3 in the morning.
Yes. Anyway, by the time I got to the drummer's house to unload the equipment, it was about 3. I was extremely exhausted and decided to sleep on the couch.
Okay. And your drummer's friend's name, is that Bobby?
That's Bob, yes.
Bob, because I saw that in your papers.
Yes.
And you called him at Bob's.
The next day, when I was really upset, I called around at his friends, and I finally found him at one of his friends, and I wanted to talk to him, and he wouldn't come to the phone. And that's when I said I was going to put his stuff out, but I allowed...
Your Honor...
Shh, just a second.
Yes.
So he wouldn't come to the phone, so what did you do with his things?
After I gave it a while, I said he needed to come home or I was going to put his stuff out on the driveway by the street, and he never came. So I just packed it all up and I stuck it out there. But I allowed a couple...
What time?
Okay, I found him in the morning, around afternoon, early afternoon.
Say 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
Around, approximately.
And what time did you get home, Mr. Honig?
About 3 in the afternoon.
And what did you find when you got there?
I found all my clothes, well, what was left of them, my possessions, stuff like my toothbrush, my hairbrush, bathroom items, just strewn all across.
Shh. I want to know what happened to your guitar, to your equipment. You have a computer that you talked about.
Computer, that's the things that I care about.
Just a second. Did you find the computer?
No, I didn't find the computer. I found pieces of software, pieces of CD-ROMs.
That's not true. I put it all out. I put it all out there in one piece.
Miss Fendley, listen to me very carefully, madam. I have no doubt that most of the stuff you put out there, and you put it out in one piece. And then what did you do?
Then I went back in the house. I just left it there.
Then you went back into the house. What did you do when you went back into the house?
Waited. We just waited for him to come home, but he never did. I mean,
Did you ever see him come home?
No.
Did you fall asleep?
I just wasn't... Yes, I just went in my room and I was just watching TV thinking that he would come in and talk to me. But he just took his stuff and he left.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at a doctor's office.
What kind of work do you do at the doctor's office?
Just receptionist.
What kind of doctor?
Just a general practitioner.
How long have you worked for this doctor?
A couple years.
What are your work hours?
From 9 to 4.
Valentine's Day last year, what day of the week was it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, what were you doing home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
What was I doing home when? On Valentine's Day? I'd taken it off because I had to go to the dentist earlier that day.
You remember that?
Yes, I remember that, but I don't remember.
Shh! What's the name of the dentist you went to? Give me the dentist's
Dr.
name.
Old.
If I called Dr. Old, would Dr. Old say that you were at his office on Friday, Valentine's Day, February 14th of this year? Just answer my question.
No.
Want to get it together and give me the answer?
He made me mad, and I was home, but I didn't break his stuff.
That's
a second.
a lie.
I did not.
Okay.
I
Just a
didn't
second.
break his stuff, Your Honor.
Miss Finley, why would you lie to me?
He's lying.
No, why would you lie to me? I don't care about him. Why would you lie to me? Now, let's start again. Who do you work for?
I work for a doctor. I work for a doctor.
Name.
Dr. Old. That's who I work for.
What kind of a doctor is Dr. Old?
General practitioner.
And Valentine's Day this past year was on a Friday.
Yes, ma'am.
Why weren't you at work?
So I called in
Why?
because I was mad at him.
So you called in sick on Valentine's
Yes.
Day? Oh.
Oh.
I didn't destroy any of his property.
Yes, you did, madam. Yes, you did.
It wasn't there when I got there.
Mr. Honig.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm sorry.
You destroyed his property, madam. If he had been living with you for a year, you have an obligation. And you have an obligation, and that is to safeguard his property. If you decide to put him out, if you decide that you no longer want to live with him, you have to give him an opportunity to remove his things. You can't have a hissy fit and throw his things out and expect there to be no repercussions. There are repercussions to that. You have a legal obligation not to take his things and throw them out, put them out, place them on a street curb. And you have a double obligation that when you come into court, if a judge asks you a question, you don't lie.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't have any big stuff of his. I don't want anything of his.
Yeah, I bet you want that computer.
Listen to me very carefully. You've already lied to me once. It's not going to happen again. Do you understand?
Yes.
And later today,
She asked me if I could loan her some money.
Brenda took the money out of her account and deposited it into my daughter's account.
I didn't borrow the money from her.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Barry Honig says ex-girlfriend Lynn Fendley owes for trashing his belongings. Lynn says Barry stayed out all night on Valentine's Day.
Now, I want to ask you this question, sir. I want you to be very careful, Mr. Honig. I want you to tell me all the things that were at home that you claim were either taken or destroyed or stolen from the street curb after she put it out.
Okay. A guitar,
And how much was the guitar, sir?
roughly $1,500, a little more, $1,550.
You have the receipt for that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, the guitar, which you
That's the
did put
guitar.
outside. Is that right, Miss Findley?
Yes, I did put his guitar out.
What else?
Okay, an amplifier. I have the receipt for that,
How much was the amplifier?
$950.
Did you put out the amplifier, Miss Findley?
Yes, I did.
What else?
My laptop and the stuff that went along with it, the software, the adapters,
Did
that
you
sort
put
of
that
stuff.
out, Miss Findley?
Yes, I did.
Really? Do you have a computer yourself?
No.
Do you use a computer? Do you use a computer?
No, I don't. Not.
I don't believe you, and I
I
don't
play
believe you put
around
it out.
on a computer, but I'm not computer literate.
No, the guitar and the amplifier, I believe. I'm not so sure I believe she put out your laptop. What else?
Tools, clothing, CDs, socks, more,
All right, Miss
more
Findlay.
CDs.
All right,
That's
Miss-
what I have here.
All right, Miss Findley, I believe that you have some of his property still in your house, and I want you to listen to me very carefully. You've already lied to me once. It's not going to happen again. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want you to tell me what of his property you still have in your house.
I really don't have it. Just like CD. Just I have a few CDs
Come
and
on,
stuff.
let's go. Okay, now we have a few CDs.
That's all I have. I don't have any big stuff of his. I don't want anything of his.
Yeah, I bet you want that computer.
Miss Findley, I believe that you are lying to me when you say that you do not have his computer or all of his CDs. I believe that you disposed of the things that you have absolutely no use for. That is his guitar, which he probably likes, his amplifier, which you have no use for, and his clothes, which merely make a statement. I believe that you have his computer and his CDs in your home. Do you understand what I just said?
Yes, I do, but
do
I
you
don't-
understand what I just said? I believe that you have it at home. And I'm going to tell you that you are going to pack up that stuff and you're going to make sure that he gets it. 5 days from today, I will give you an order that says you may go to her home in the company of a police officer, and she is to have that stuff boxed up. $2,500 is what I find that these two items, the guitar and the amplifier, are worth, which I do believe she disposed of by throwing them outside, along with your clothes. Probably worth another $500. The other thing she has in the house, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000 for these two items and your clothes. The other items are to be packed up and returned to him in 5 days. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Lynn is an obvious liar.
I don't have his stuff, so how can they get his stuff if I don't have it?
I don't think that she threw the computer out. I think the judge is right on that. She probably still has it.
I stuck it outside, and what happened to it after that, I'm not sure.
I guess justice is served, but we'll see if I ever get my computer back.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Griffin versus Harris. Step forward, please.
Sales rep Aaron Griffin is suing his ex-girlfriend, nurse's aide Darlene Harris, for the return of his personal property and for having him falsely arrested. Darlene says Aaron broke into her apartment.
Mr. Griffin, you are suing the defendant, who was your former girlfriend, because you say she had you falsely arrested for burglarizing her property, when what you were actually trying to do was to get some of your stuff out because she had thrown you out. Ms. Harris said that you did, in fact, break in, and all the property that you wanted belonged to her. Is that right?
Right.
Were you living together?
I had my own home.
Is that right?
No, he was living in my house.
Did he also have his own home?
Well, yes.
What was your stuff doing in her apartment?
We had decided to spend 2 weeks together. After a few days, I recognized that she didn't have some items. She didn't have a television in the bedroom. She didn't have a living room set. So I decided to move some of my belongings from my home over to her residence.
What did you move over?
I brought over my living room set, a television.
Which consisted of what?
Consisted of a cherry oak table, 8 chairs. I also brought over a 19-inch television, a portable CD player, my clothing, some dishes, glasses, silverware, and also...
She didn't have any of that stuff?
She had some of it, but incomplete sets.
She didn't have enough for you to eat off of for 2 weeks?
Well, I wanted to assist, and as I said, I...
You wanted to assist in what?
Assist her in some of the items that she didn't have.
And so after 2 weeks, it didn't work out. What happened, Mr. Griffin?
Well, we had planned to get married, and there was an issue in that I was still married and needed to get a divorce.
That's what Miss Harris said.
Yeah.
That's what Miss Harris said. She said when you brought the 8 chairs in, she didn't know you still had 8 chairs and a wife. Okay, so what happened?
She didn't apparently want to wait until I could get a divorce. So I decided that it was time for me to move out. That Monday morning, we had one final argument, and I left, but I did leave my belongings in the residence. The argument had gotten very bitter, and I decided that it was just best if I leave at that point.
That was smart.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Upon my return, I found that the defendant was not in her residence, and the door was locked. I did have she had given me a key when I first arrived from Texas.
But she took the key off the ring.
Right, unbeknownst to me.
How do you retrieve your articles?
Well, actually, I came in through the side window. I kind of pushed it up and climbed in.
But how do you get them? You brought over table, chairs, TVs, CDs. Where were you going to put all this stuff?
Well, I was going to place all of the items that I could carry into my vehicle.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
A Mercury Sable.
So one of those expandable Mercury Sables?
No, Your Honor. It's average size.
So you weren't planning too well?
I guess not, no.
So what happened? You crawl into the house and you open up a window, crawl into the house, and what happened next, sir?
I commenced to packing my clothing and my luggage, and the doorbell rang. And when the doorbell rang, I went to the door thinking it was the defendant.
It wasn't the defendant, it was the...
Police, right. It was the police upon me opening the door, but I thought it was the defendant.
Okay, what you thought was irrelevant.
Okay.
It's okay, so you opened the door and it was the police. Go ahead.
Correct. They asked me what my name was. I said Aaron Griffin. They said, you're now under arrest. and they charged me with burglary. The defendant indicated that she didn't know me. That I had broken in.
Just a second. Did you tell the police you didn't know him?
No. 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 I never told. No.
You told him to call his wife. She knows him.
Very well.
Were you there when she said she didn't know you?
They were actually leading me down the stairs of the porch. And she was standing in front of the house with the police.
Yes.
She said she didn't know me, that I had broken in.
That's pretty nasty if you did it.
I never said that. I never said that.
Okay. So let's talk about this report that you made to the police. Tell me about that.
I was coming up my street with my sister-in-law, and I saw his vehicle in my driveway. Shouldn't have been in my driveway because I had taken the key off the key ring. I was scared. We had an argument, you know, and I was...
So you called the police?
I called the police, and they met me at my house. They saw the window, and they arrested him.
They saw the window what?
It was broken.
How was it broken? The glass was broken?
Yes.
Did you break the glass?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Oh, you've left that out. You said you just pushed the window up a little bit. So you broke the window to get in?
Yes, I did.
That's not false arrest. You can't do that. It's not your house. You can't break a window to get in. So that takes care of your false arrest charge. Now you want all your furniture back.
Yes, I do.
Table, 8 chairs, 19-inch television, CD, dishes. You have all that stuff?
No, I do not.
Where is it?
I put it into the trash. I got rid of it.
Oh, no, Miss Harris, listen to me. You know how I caught him in fibs? That's a fib. You want to tell me what you did with his table and 8 chairs?
That's what I did with it.
Well,
I woke up one day and I was upset and I didn't want any reminder of him in my house, and I put that stuff out.
You put it out? Good.
Yes.
You pay for it. That was the wrong thing to do.
Well,
that was the wrong thing to do.
We were getting married and had a wife.
Listen to me. That was the wrong thing for you to do. You acted impulsively, and it was the wrong thing to do, so you have to pay for it.
Your Honor.
I don't believe that you just took it outside and threw it out. You may have given it to somebody.
Well, people in the neighborhood, I'm sure they came and took the stuff up off the curb.
Including
but that's
the television?
Exactly what,
including the television set?
Yes.
That's fine, then you pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,250. But that's it, Mr. Griffin. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think that the defendant was a little dishonest as far as what occurred.
I never wanted him arrested. I just wanted him out of my house.
She really, in fact, had some feelings of scorn and wanted to retaliate.
I'm still angry and hurt, and it's just been too much.
Telecommunications manager Ken Thomas is suing his neighbors, Beverly and Roy DiBiaso. Ken says the couple's son, 15-year-old Christopher, kicked a dent into the side of his car. Christopher says Ken ran him over, breaking his foot. The DiBiasos are countersuing for damages incurred.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 362 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus DiBiaso. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks have seats.
Mr. Thomas, you and the defendants live on the same block?
We're relative neighbors, Your Honor. I
Okay.
drew a sketch of our neighbor.
Just listen.
Okay.
You live on the same block.
Yes.
How many houses apart?
About a half-mile apart.
It is your claim the defendant's sons have these motorized bikes?
Yes.
And were riding up and down the street and had been at an excessive rate of speed.
Yes, they
you
were
have
doing.
young children. I assume that this is one of your children. And on one particular day, after confronting the boys, one of them kicked your car, causing a dent.
Yes.
You want the defendant, father, mother, to pay for that, the damage to the car. Mr. and Mrs. DiBiaso say that, yes, it's true that one of their sons did kick your car, but it was only after you ran over his son.
That's ridiculous.
Shh.
Sorry.
Shh. Only after you ran over his son, breaking his foot, crushing his foot, that son kicked your car.
That's correct.
Correct.
And they are countersuing for all of the medical bills and pain and suffering. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
So I want you two to sit down. And I want these boys to stand up. Put that down. I'm not interested in that right now. I'm not very good at those things. I'm good at finding out the truth. Who kicked the car?
It was me, Your Honor.
Perfect. Your name?
Chris.
What kind of a motorized bike were you riding that day?
1999 Yamaha 125.
And when did you get it?
I got it 2 days prior to when this took place.
Had you had a bike before that?
Several years before that.
Now, you knew Mr. Thomas from before, is that right?
I've never actually met him. I've seen him.
But you've seen him?
Yes.
You knew he was a neighbor?
Yes.
What day did you get the bike?
I think it was the 2nd of, I believe, August.
And what day did you break your foot?
2 days after, so it would be the 4th.
And when for the first time did Mr. Thomas ask you to drive slower when going up and down the street?
He had never asked me to drive slower.
Is that correct?
Prior to this day, I had not, and this day was August 1st when all this happened.
So you had to have gotten the bike before that, sir.
Okay, I'm not
July
completely...
30th.
July
It was
30th.
July 30th.
Okay. Now, let's go to August 1st. You and your brother are both riding your bikes?
Yeah, me and him had rode down...
Is that right?
Yes.
When did Mr. Thomas, for the first time that day, tell you to slow down?
He had not told us to slow down at all.
Ever?
Ever.
Okay. So I get to Mr. Thomas. You want to tell me your version of what happened on the 1st of August?
Yes, it was about 8 o'clock at night. These boys had been riding up and down the street. It seemed like a few hours. And like I said, there had been prior history where my kids couldn't go out and ride their bikes on the street, so...
No. Slowly. Mr. Thomas, don't lose me. You said there'd been a prior what?
The prior times when they'd been riding their bikes up and down in front of our house.
You mean the day before that, perhaps?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So that evening I'd had enough of it, so I drove my car out onto the street. We have a large 1-acre yacht, so I drove my car out onto the street to stop them, to get their attention, to tell them they need to slow down if they need to. They have to go past our house to get to where the dirt roads are. So I wanted them to slow down and talk to them. They didn't stop. They split. They went around my car, and they stopped about 100 feet farther down, which is where my driveway was. So I drove down to them, and I started to get out of the car. Chris's motorcycle was right next to my door, and he was on it. And I said, you guys have got to stop this. I've got small kids. You can't go by here that fast. He used some expletives.
Tell me what he said. I've heard everything.
He said, this is our street. We can do whatever we want.
No.
We can.
Listen, I want you to be quiet. You weren't there. Do you understand?
Yes, Rona.
Good. That sounds about right.
He said,
Go ahead.
we can do whatever we want, and you can't stop us. I was very angry, and I said, you've got to stop this. I've got small kids. I don't want you doing this. I'm going to go down and tell your parents. And I got back in my car. He drove his motorcycle around behind me. I went to back up, and I was just going to say, all right, enough. They took off. And I went about a foot, and I saw that he hadn't come around behind me, so I stopped the car. Okay, I looked out the back, and he was standing up and lifting his motorcycle up.
So he was behind you and you knocked his motorcycle down?
Well, after talking to my wife, no, he had laid his motorcycle down behind me. There was a small scratch from his tire on the bumper of my car, and I have photographs of that, which shows that there was very minor damage to my car, so there could not have been significant damage to him.
I don't know
or
if there
his
was
motorcycle.
significant damage or not,
Right.
but
I did
clearly
bump him
your
with my
car
car.
came in contact
Yes.
with his motorcycle.
Yes.
Now, my question is, was it the back of your car that came in
Yes.
contact with his motorcycle or
Yes,
the
it
front
was.
of your
The
car?
back bumper.
Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Now, stop there. You want to tell me how the back of his car came into contact with your bike?
Me and my brother had rode down the street going towards Mr. Thomas's house because our friend lives at the end of the street, which is the dirt road where we usually ride at. We found out he wasn't home, and on the way back, we were going down the shoulder of the road, and he comes blaring out of his driveway in a matter of what I suspected to try to knock me off my motorcycle. I had swerved to miss him, and I ended up in the middle of the street. He had drove around me. I got up, started my bike again. As I started to take off, he backed his car over me, looked at me and said, "That's what you get."
Just a minute. Are you telling me that he never said to you, you got to slow down?
Your Honor, he never said one word to us.
Is that right?
That is correct.
When his car hit your bike, you say it knocked it over?
It knocked it over, and it put my foot underneath his tire.
It's not physically possible.
No, that didn't happen.
Something.
Now, listen to me. Listen to me. You almost had me. You almost had me, Christopher. But I'm telling you right now, if you lie to me about something, and I don't care what you told them or what you decided to testify to today, I don't care. You almost had me. But if you lie to me, then I don't believe anything that you say.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He was in my face with his finger.
He was mad. He had had it.
He got in his car and had threatened my dad to a fight.
He's too old for me to deal with. He's already cooked. You're not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ken Thomas says neighbor 15-year-old Christopher DiBiaso kicked a dent into the side of his car. Christopher says Ken ran him over and broke his foot.
Listen, he was, up until a moment ago, in my mind, not telling me the truth. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
About not having a discussion with you. Now, he knocked your bike down with his car.
Yes.
And what did you do next?
After he pulled forward to get me so I could get up, I picked my bike up, pushed it to the side of the street, started up, and proceeded home.
So you got on your bike.
Yes.
You put your feet on the pedals.
It's Kickstarter and pegs, yes.
You put your feet on the pedals.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you drove the bike home.
I rode the bike home.
And then what happened?
I limped in the house to get my dad, and my dad came out to ask the guy what his problem was, and he was in my face with his finger all over my dad's face. He got in his car and had threatened my dad to a fight and drove away.
When did you kick the car?
As he was driving away, Your Honor.
Now, my question to you, sir, what foot did you kick his car with?
My left foot.
And you injured your right foot?
I injured my right foot.
So you were standing on your fractured foot, is that right?
That is correct.
You put all your weight on your fractured foot in order to kick his car with the other foot.
That's correct, Your Honor.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. See? If you tell me the whole truth, he's too old for me to deal with. You see, he's already cooked. He's cooked. You're not. I believe that you broke your foot. I believe that you broke your foot when you kicked his car. That's what I believe. That doesn't excuse him from tearing out, which I believe he did. And I don't believe he tried to knock you over because that would be stupid. But he was mad and he had had it. And he has a temper, and that's what happens when you have a temper. And I believe that the bike went down. I don't believe that your foot was under his car. I believe that the bike went down, but not with you on it. Can I see a picture of the dent?
Yes. There's several pictures of the overall car. It's not a small dent.
Oh, this is not a small dent. This is enough of a dent to break your foot. Yeah. Christopher. So I'm disposing of your counterclaim very fast because I don't believe that your foot was broken in any other way but kicking his car. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Clear? Now, the only thing that I have to determine is whether or not you caused this damage to his car. No question you did. There's no question you did.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Okay. How old are you? 15?
15.
And you? 14?
14.
Let's talk about when you have a motorcycle or a moped or whatever else it is that goes fast.
Okay.
And let's talk about being responsible. You see that child over there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What do you think would happen if you hit that child while she was playing in the street when you were going up and down the street with your motorcycle?
I would feel terrible.
No, what do you think would happen to her?
She would get hurt extremely bad.
Right. Now, how old do you have to be in order to get a driver's license in the state of California?
16, Your Honor.
So that neither you nor your brother can get a driver's license. Is that right?
That's correct.
There is a reason why the state imposes certain restrictions on people having the ability to have a machine that can cause serious injury. And that is because children at age 14 and 15 lack judgment. You put a 14-year-old on a machine that can go, how fast can your bike go?
Probably about 65 miles an hour.
65 miles an hour, and they got all this testosterone, and they got all this puberty stuff going on, and they got all this hormone stuff going on, and they have no other way to take it out, so they take it out on the road. Well, if you're going to entrust a machine that can go 65 miles an hour to your children, then you have to be prepared for the consequences. If you want to give them a machine that can go 65 miles an hour, then you put the machines in a truck and you take them to a deserted area that is not residential, where they can drive and there aren't other children and there aren't other dogs and there aren't people and there aren't anybody else that they can frighten. And if you choose not to do that, then you are responsible. Do you understand?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Let me see the estimate to the damage to your car, please.
That is one of these right here.
You have a $500 deductible?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay. Consider yourself lucky.
Okay.
Really, consider yourself lucky. You broke your foot because you got mad. And you said to me you got angry because he was threatening my father. Right? Isn't that what you said?
Not only that, the fact that he had hit me with his car without even an attempt to try and ask me to stop, to do anything. He just figured he'd take it out with his car on me.
You think that he hit you with his car on purpose?
I believe he did.
That would be pretty stupid. That would be pretty stupid. You think that if you hit his daughter, that would have been an accident?
Yes, that would have been
an accident.
Yes.
Tragedy. Okay. Now, how fast were you going that day?
Probably about 30 miles an hour.
Was there any time during the day that you were going faster than 30 miles an hour?
Your Honor, I held it was not, Your Honor.
No, only 30 miles an hour.
Only 30 miles an hour.
30 miles an hour is pretty fast. It's faster than you can go on a bicycle if you're that age. Your parents have to feel that you're responsible enough. The state of California doesn't believe you're responsible enough to drive a vehicle that can go 65 miles an hour. I wouldn't give a bike like that to one of my kids who was 15. If you choose to do that, you pay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700 as requested. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Unfair. Completely unfair.
I think Judge Judy saw straight through the truth.
I hope the next boy he runs over is as lucky as my son to be able to walk away.
There's no way that he got his foot broken and then kicked my car.
There's other kids in our neighborhood that ride their dirt bikes, and if he stopped my son like that, he's going to stop the next kid like that.
There are some other boys that ride the bikes, and they do it slow, reasonable, responsible speeds.
His wife works at the school district. She's been to both of my son's school making harassing comments regarding my boys.
Their son has been threatening my son at school.
We were perfectly at speeds in order to correct ourselves.
I have little kids, and there had been too many times. It was late at night, it was 8 o'clock at night, and I'd had enough.
If his daughter would have ran in front, we could have stopped instantly.
This father I can see where the kid gets his attitude from.
Well, hopefully they'll just leave my kids alone.
Parents need to be responsible for their kids' actions.
Antique store owner Rebecca Watson is suing her ex-lover, truck driver Larry Martinez, for unpaid loans and for money invested in his business.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 372 on the calendar in the matter of Watson versus Martinez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Watson, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of $1,400 for a couple of things. To bring his daughter out for a visit and then to help pay his mortgage. In addition to that, you claim that he defrauded you out of $500, some sort of an investment. You want that money back. You want a total of $1,900.
Yes.
Mr. Martinez says that he did, in fact, take some money from you, but that money was a gift, that you insisted upon giving it to him because he had fallen on some difficult financial times, and that the $500 investment that you made in his business was just that, an investment that didn't work out, and you lost your money. How do you know him?
We met at a charity ball, and I met him during a function.
When?
I believe December of 2000.
When did you first give him money?
July of 2001.
What kind of relationship did you have with him between December of 2000 and July of 2001?
We were involved very closely in that we were friends and intimately associated.
You considered yourself his female friend?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now tell me about the first loan.
The largest loan was $1,000 because he was behind on a mortgage payment.
Tell me about it.
Well, I just felt sorry for him and went ahead and told him that he begged me for the money, and I told him...
Tell me. Let's start from the beginning. He came to you, you were out for dinner, you were out someplace, he said to you, I'm behind in my mortgage. I want to know exactly how it came about.
No, he had been telling me along that he had some money problems, and his girlfriend wasn't able to help him with his money problems, and that she was taking a lot of money.
So he had a girlfriend?
Yes, he has a girlfriend.
Well, what was he doing with you if he had a girlfriend?
Well, we were just really more friends than anything else, and I would give him a lot of advice, and our relationship was in that he's a truck driver. We'd talk over the phone a lot, and it was over the phone that he told me that really where he needed the money. So it wasn't over dinner or anything. Go
ahead.
And so I did have the money wired or electronically transferred.
No, I want you to tell me about it.
Oh, about our relationship?
No, about the $1,000, madam.
The $1,000, I did go ahead and have it wired.
I believe that you gave him $1,000. I want to know the circumstances surrounding you giving him the $1,000.
Well, I loaned him the $1,000.
That's what you say?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, since I'm not getting it from you, I'm going to go to Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez, she gave you $1,000. Tell me how that came about, sir.
She wired it to my account. She took $1,000, gave it to me. I told her I needed some help with the bills, and
You told her you needed help with the bills.
I said I'm behind. She was away. I was by myself. So I needed some money. I didn't have no help. She offered to help.
What did she say?
She says if you need
No, look at me.
If you need some money, I have money, and if you need to borrow some or whatever, it's here for you if you need it.
Good. And you said I need to borrow it.
I need about $1,000 to pay my bills.
So she sent you the money. So why didn't you pay it? Look here.
At that time, I didn't have any money. It went on.
That doesn't mean that it's not a loan, sir. That means that you didn't have the money then to pay her back.
Didn't have the money to pay her back and couldn't pay her back.
That doesn't mean it wasn't a loan.
Well, if it was a loan, I would have had to sign some kind of receipt or some kind of paperwork saying that, hey, you know,
You just told me you borrowed the money from her. You used that word. I asked her if I could borrow some money from her.
Okay. Maybe I should have used a different word then.
That's not, maybe you should have, but that's the word that you used.
Okay. I took the $1,000 from
You borrowed it.
Okay.
And you didn't have money to pay her back. That doesn't mean you don't owe it to her. What's next?
Well, Your Honor, the reason...
Shh, I didn't ask. I said, what's next? $1,000 I have. Hello?
Oh, no, Your Honor, I'm sorry. I thought you I think the reason he didn't have the $1,000...
I don't care what the reason is.
Yes,
why he didn't have the $1,000. He owes you so far $1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
What's
what
next?
Else? Well, there was $500 for the investment.
I don't care about the investment. You were dumb enough to give him $500 for an investment. That's your problem. Let's
Yes,
go to
ma'am.
the next thing.
I think he didn't have the money because Michelle wasn't there to give it to him. Okay.
Can
Michelle was
are you
in
finished
jail.
with the, Are you finished with the $1,000?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
all he owes you, $1,000?
No, ma'am.
Then I want you to get to it. I didn't ask you anything else.
All right. There's the $500 in the e-toys.
Just a second. Miss Watson.
Yes?
You're not paying attention to me.
I'm sorry.
I told you, if you were dumb enough to give him invest in a business for $500 with him, and he didn't have enough money to pay his own rent, you don't get that money back.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't. Good. Now, so far, he has admitted, reluctantly, to owing you $1,000. Does he owe you any more money?
Yes, ma'am, he does. But he is such
You want to get to it.
Yes, ma'am.
What is it? What was it for? When did you give it to him? Before
He is such a scoundrel that...
That's it. I'm finished with you, Miss Watson. I'm finished with you. I asked you a simple question. The simple question is, we got to the $1,000. He owes you the $1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
He doesn't owe you $500 that you invested with him. Is there any other money that he owes you? What you have to say is yes, how much it was, what you gave it to him for. If you're not going to answer that question directly, Miss Watson, I'm going to give you an award of $1,000 and say goodbye. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do. He does owe me another $900.
No, he doesn't. You want to tell me what the $900 is for?
I do have documentation on monies that were given to him when he did ask me for a loan, and I do have FYI when I did fax him the information. And
Miss
then,
Watson, is there something wrong with you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You invested in a bad deal, period. End of discussion. That leaves $400 left, not $900. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And later today,
I don't remember getting hit. I got hit 3 times, actually.
Started drinking some liquor. Then Nita started wilding.
She started what?
Wilding.
What is that?
Acting crazy.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rebecca Watson says former lover Larry Martinez owes for a series of loans and for an investment she made in his business.
Your lawsuit is for $1,900.
Yes, ma'am.
$1,000 loan, something for a plane ticket or something to bring his daughter out.
That's
and then
correct.
Quiet! And then $500 that you say you invested with him. I've already told you I'm discounting the $500. He does not owe you the $500. You invested in a bad deal, period. End of discussion. That leaves $400 left, not $900. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what was the other $400 for?
The other $400 was in petty cash and plane ticket that he needed to.
I'm not interested in petty cash.
Get his daughter
I'm
back
not interested
to New York.
in petty cash. What was the plane ticket?
The plane ticket was about $300.
What do you mean about $300?
It was $300 because I gave him $100 for being able to get in the airport.
Show me the $300 plane ticket. Show me where it was. Where did you buy the $300 plane ticket?
No, I gave him the money as a loan because he needed to get his daughter from New York.
How much was the plane ticket to get your daughter from New York to wherever?
About $250. That has nothing to do with the money that she gave me. Was $1,000 towards my bills. That money came out of my pocket for the plane ticket.
So she didn't give you $250. No. You have any evidence that you put that plane ticket on your credit card?
No, ma'am.
Good. So you got $1,000, Miss Watson. That's it, period. That's what you say you owe her? That's what you borrowed. Okay. Is that right? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There were, times that she was in jail and she was gone and not able to be with him. I didn't know all this at the time. I didn't even know he had a girlfriend.
Well, I was away. The cat played.
Larry is a real scoundrel, and he's got a woman at every port.
I thought she was my friend, and she was cheating on me. Both of them.
You learn from your mistakes. I'm not going to be doing that anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hamilton versus Meisha. Step forward, please.
24-year-old truck parts assistant Denise Hamilton is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old waste management supervisor Mark Meisha, for a series of unpaid loans.
Miss Hamilton, the defendant is your former boyfriend, and it is your claim that you made 2 loans to him. He's no longer your boyfriend. You want the money back.
Yes.
When was the first loan, and what was it for?
It was for his car insurance. He had gotten behind, and I'd recently gotten a credit card, so I told him I would loan him the money. The agreement was he was going to pay me back in full by the time the date came for the bill.
Okay, how much was that?
$471.
Okay, let's deal with one loan at a time. Did she put your insurance bill on her credit card?
Yes.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding her putting your insurance on her credit card.
Well, at first it was to pay it back, but then we purchased a car for her. And
who purchased a car for her?
Both of us. And they asked for $800 more to put down on the car, so I paid the $800 as it was due.
You mean a down payment?
Yes, she put $1,000 on it, and then they wanted $1,800, so I put the extra $800 on it.
Is that right?
That's incorrect.
Okay.
That was what was supposed to happen. They wanted $160 a week until we got through with the $800, and then the regular car payments would start. So the first week, he got paid on a Friday, came home, said, "Oh God, I don't know why I said I could do this. I don't think I have the $160. So I maxed out my other credit card. I paid $100. He gave me $60 for it.
What happened the next week?
He paid it the next week. He paid
$160 the next week?
Yes.
And what about the third week?
He paid it the third week.
Third week he paid $160. What about the fourth week?
Yes.
That means so far he paid $540 towards the car.
Yes.
Okay, now who has the car?
I have the car because I'm a co-signer.
So you have the car?
Yes.
Now, you say that this $471, the loan was sort of forgiven because you put in far more than $471 towards her car.
Correct.
Well, how do you respond to that?
We had signed the paperwork. He said, I can do this. I can put the down payment on the car. I said, fine. And I was going to tell him, I understand that you're not going to have the $471 by the time the credit card is due.
Darn right. Yeah.
So I was going to say, you can just make like the minimum payment or whatever. And
I don't care what you were going to say.
Well, he told me.
What did you say?
He said, now I don't have the money for this, so I can't pay it.
Fine. That's reasonable. So then you shouldn't have bought the car.
He wasn't.
Miss Hamilton, what are you complaining about? You came out ahead. So what are you complaining about?
Well,
you have a car.
Yes.
He paid a piece of that car. He has no use of that car. You loaned him because he didn't have it, $471, and he loaned you a hell of a lot more than that because you didn't have money. Come on, so far I'm unsympathetic towards your plight, Miss Hamilton. What's next that you gave him money for?
I loaned him $1,300.
For what and when?
It was in August 15th. He was supposed to go put a down payment on an apartment for me, him, and his best friend, and basically just took off with it, and I had to go looking for him, ask him what happened to the money, ask him why we didn't have an apartment.
Okay, go. $1,300.
Okay, she
Look
signed,
at me.
Sorry, she signed the check over.
What check?
It was a check for $1,300. But the agreement was, like she said, it was to make you know, payments for the apartment. And when I got out there, we basically started going astray, and I needed a place to stay, and I just used the money to get a place to stay.
So you owe her the $1,300.
Well, I don't feel, you know, I don't feel that I should owe money for money that was supposed to be put up, and then all of a sudden we sat down and said, okay, it's not making out.
What kind of double talk is that? Okay. Sometimes you have to say, I owe her the money. I did the wrong thing.
But I have.
You took $1,300 from her in August,
Right,
and
never
then you
once
took off.
did she ever say it was a loan for one.
It was to be used for the down payment on an apartment. It may have been used as a down payment on an apartment, but only for you. And the original intent was for it to be used as a down payment on an apartment for both of you. Therefore, if you weren't using the money for a purpose for which it was given to you, you must give it back.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes, I'd give it back.
Perfect!
I'd only half of it anyway.
What?
From what I understand, from what I've been told, part of it was a loan, and I'd only owe half of it anyway.
Now we have a different story, so explain that to me.
I'm not exactly sure on the whole detail. It was lent basically on her, and both of us owed it. As soon as she would have gotten the apartment, I would have had to pay it anyway.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,300, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She got what she wanted, even though I don't think it should happen that way, but
I just wanted my money back.
that's the way it is.
I was sick of chasing somebody for money.
Guess I don't borrow money anymore.
Don't lend people money.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Coker versus Coker. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Wanda Coker is suing her ex-daughter-in-law, restaurant manager Charlotta Coker, for unpaid rent, living expenses, and the cost of a freezer.
Mrs. Coker, the defendant is your former daughter-in-law.
Yes.
Who are you, sir?
I'm her son, her ex-husband.
According to your complaint, you believe that your former daughter-in-law owes you for some rent, for some miscellaneous expenses, and for a freezer that she promised you.
Yes, they had moved back.
Just a minute. When were you divorced from your husband?
It was finalized September 19th.
And when did you separate from him?
December 20th of last year.
And how long were you married?
We were married for 5 years.
Do you have any children together?
Yes, we do.
How many?
We have one.
How old is that child?
He's 6.
Who does he live with?
He lives with me.
Is that correct?
We have joint custody.
Who does he live with the majority of the week?
It's about 50-50.
Okay, so you live close by
Yes,
to each other.
yes.
All right, Miss Coker, you want to tell me when your daughter-in-law lived with you that you claim she owes you rent?
They came back in June, right after school had gotten out last year.
Who's they?
Her and her 2 children, actually her 3 children, and my son were moving back here to get a divorce because it would be cheaper to move all their stuff together.
And they came to live with you?
She and the 2 kids did. Then she went back along with my son to pack their belongings and have them transported back, but she had left her 2 older children with me.
What period of time do you allege she owes you rent for? Give me the
Off
month and year.
From June through December.
June of 01 through December of 01.
Right.
And was she living with you alone or with your son?
No, he was in rehab. He had went to rehab.
For alcohol, I see.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The freezer's still at her house. I didn't tell her she couldn't have it. I just want to say that it's my freezer. She told me I could have it.
I don't know what you want. You want me to make a judgment as to whose freezer it is? I don't have to do that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wanda Coker says ex-daughter-in-law Charlotta Coker owes for rent, living expenses, and the cost of a freezer. Charlotta says she was forced to live with Wanda when her husband entered rehab.
Okay. Is that correct? When you came back in June, he was planning to go into rehab?
He was planning on it, yes. And it was in July
that he went.
When we came back to Wichita.
In July, you came back as a family.
We came back as a family. We weren't coming back to get a divorce. We were coming back as a family, trying to work things out.
And you were going to live with your mother-in-law?
Yes, stay there until we could get a job, get on our feet, yes.
Fine. What arrangement do you claim there was for rent?
When they moved all their things back, she had told me that she had a deep freeze that I could have for part of the rent.
You mean while your son was in rehab?
Right. Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead. So?
So in the meantime, when they were here, they had this dog that she had brought back that tore up my back storm door.
What do you mean she had brought back? Where was your son? Did he come back too?
He had came back, but he went into rehab.
Just a second. He came back, and they brought a dog. Is that right?
Right.
All of them as a family. Your son, your daughter-in-law, your grandchild, and her 2 children. They all came back together with a dog.
But then she flew back out and decided she was not coming back to Kansas. She was going to make her home in Washington.
Okay. When was that?
That was about July.
All right. How long was she gone in July?
Probably a month.
So then she came back in August?
The latter part of August.
What period of time, I'm saying to you, do you claim she owes you rent for?
At least 4 months.
What 4 months?
For June, she didn't.
She doesn't owe you any money for June. Get it from him. July? She doesn't owe you any money for July. You haven't told me you had an agreement with her. Get your rent from him. Now, when did she come back by herself?
It was the 1st of October.
She came back by herself.
October. I know it was before Halloween.
She came back October 1st.
It was in October, yes.
Where was he?
He was in rehab.
Okay. And what did she say to you when she came back in October?
She told me that they had that deep freeze that I could have for part of the rent. She could not afford to pay me anything.
So what are you suing her for rent for? You're suing her for rent.
Well, the children weren't my grandchildren. And
so you have to have an agreement for rent, madam. You don't have it. You didn't have an agreement.
She was the one that told me that I could have the deep freeze for
not
part
talking
of the
about
rent.
the freezer, madam. You said rent.
That was for part of the rent.
Miss Coker, you're not following me, madam. I mean, I think that your whole lawsuit is ridiculous. You're suing the mother of one of your grandchildren when there is a divorce, and it appears to me that your son and your former daughter-in-law have a reasonable enough relationship to share custody, and you are foolish enough to sue her for a deep freeze. Foolish enough. Now, I don't understand that. She comes to your house. Your son is an alcoholic. He's going into rehab. He's not providing for his family. She has a baby and 2 other children, right? She's trying to keep it all together. And you're suing her for a deep freeze? Where is your brain? Where is your mind?
I have proof that the dog tore up my back door.
He brought the dog.
No,
he brought the dog.
The dog was not his. The dog was hers.
Listen to me. According to you, they came back in June with the dog. If you didn't want the dog, you say to your son, get rid of the dog. You don't complain a year later and say the dog ripped apart my screen door. You say to your son, you can come back with your wife and the children, but you have to leave the dog home.
He tried to get rid of it.
What?
He tried to get rid of the dog, and she wouldn't let him.
Then you say you all have to leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me, madam. You are a very foolish woman. You have a grandchild. I don't know how many grandchildren you have, but it appears to me, I'm going to say it again, these 2 people don't appear to me to be at odds with each other. They share custody of a child, 50% custody, and there shouldn't be any problem with you mixing up trouble between the 2 of them so that he comes to sit to testify on your behalf against her. That's just not smart. So I have heard nothing with regard to rent. She didn't agree to pay any rent. He's responsible for necessaries for his children. He wasn't providing for necessaries for his children because he's an alcoholic and he was in rehab. During that time, you filled in for him. You're a very good mother. Now, let's talk about the freezer. Did you promise her a freezer?
No, I did not.
All right. What did you say to her with regard to the freezer?
Nothing. We brought it over to her house so we could put extra food in it because her freezer wasn't big enough for all 6 of us.
And when you left, what did you do with the freezer?
The freezer's still at her house. I haven't got it yet.
You still have the freezer at your house?
I didn't tell her she couldn't have it. I just want to say that it's my freezer. She told me I could have it for part of the rent.
Just a second. Shh, oh, be quiet. Just a second. Are you going back to get the freezer?
Yes. I mean, what does she need a freezer for? There's only one in her family.
Listen to me. I don't know what you want. You want me to make a judgment as to whose freezer it is? I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. I don't know why you're here, Mrs. Coker. All I can say to you is you better wisen up. You have a grandchild. You want to maintain a reasonable relationship with the mother of your grandchild? I would suggest that you don't get into a contest with her about whose freezer it is. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, she's flat lying about it.
She did this all out of spite.
Her dog tore up my back door.
Because I divorced her son.
And also the deep freeze. She had told me that I could have it.
He did tear up the back door, but my husband did fix it at the time.
I feel like that she owed me the deep freeze and fixing my door.
No, I don't.
When they were in Washington, they lived in a $250,000 home and they split the equity.
I don't think anybody owes anybody anything.
So yeah, there was his responsibility to her because she didn't work day one.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2190, Friend versus Ivy Jr.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Friend, your husband passed away recently.
Yes.
When did he pass?
August 26, 2022.
What did he pass away from?
He took his own life.
You have kids?
I have one. I have a daughter. She's 7 months old. She was born June 14th, 2022.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It is your claim that Mr. Ivan, after your husband's death, withdrew money from your husband's bank account. Was that a joint bank account or his own bank account?
It was under his, but
So it was his.
Yes.
So it was his bank account.
It was.
Did you also have a joint bank account?
We just shared that one. I wasn't working, and I'm not working. He is sole provider of our family.
So the bank account was in his name solely?
Yes.
How do you know the defendant?
We met in 2020. We worked together at Target, and that's my husband and I, and also the defendant.
So you worked there?
Yes.
Did you become social friends?
Yes.
And at some point, Mr. Ivan says that your husband needed money, that he was in some sort of difficulty with rent money.
Okay.
That's what Mr. Ivan says. In what month, Mr. Ivan, do you claim that you loaned money to Mr. Friend?
Mr. Whalen is his name.
Whalen.
Yeah. Michael and I are best friends from the day that we met, by the way. Just hit it off right away.
Conversation about the money in your house?
Yes.
In your house?
Yes.
I'd like you to tell me what that conversation was.
Absolutely. Michael showed up at my door on August 17th. He needed money, and he needed away from the plaintiff.
Just a second.
Uh-huh.
Don't tell me what he needed. Tell me what he said to you.
His rent is very far behind, and he would like to borrow $1,500.
Did you ask him why?
Of course.
And what did he say?
Rent.
No. Why his rent was so far behind?
Oh, not exactly. He stayed with me for the next 2 days, so we had a lot of conversation about it.
Okay. So when he came on August 17th, he did not stay home with his wife and the new baby. He stayed with you for how many days?
For 2 that week.
You and your husband been having a difficult time?
We were the last couple weeks before his ending.
And he did, in fact, stay out. Did you know where he was staying?
No, I did not.
Okay, but you knew he was out?
Yes, I had asked him to leave.
Okay. Now, his rent in his house where his wife and his baby was overdue.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he needed $1,500 according to you, so what did you do?
I gave him the $1,500.
Mrs. Friend, in June, July, August, was your husband working?
Yes.
Same job?
He was working with Burlington, so yes.
Did your husband have any problems that you know of with either drugs or gambling?
I didn't know at the time.
But do you know now? Yes. What kind of problems did he have? For money and also for problems. Okay. Your husband was a young man. Did he have any life insurance?
He did, yes.
He did. How much?
It was, oh my goodness, it was $200,000.
Did the company pay on his life insurance? No, because he committed suicide?
Oh, it wasn't that. It was he had lapsed his payment. So I think his last payment was, I believe, in May, and he did not pay it. So because of that, they did not.
It lapsed?
Yeah.
It might not have been effective anyway since he took his own life.
Okay, so you lent him $1,500. And how did you repay yourself and when?
Your Honor, I'd like to point out that she was very well aware of the fact that he was using cocaine for the better part of the year.
Just a second.
Okay.
Mr. Ivan, not necessary.
Okay. I repeat myself because that was our agreement. Michael was at my house a week later also. He logged onto my phone because he no longer had any belongings. He no longer had a physical wallet or a phone in his possession. He lost them. Miss Friend had his wallet, but I can show you that later. For now, he's asking me if he can put his memorized information on my digital wallet, which I can show you now if you'd like.
Yes.
It's still on my phone to this day.
His information?
Correct.
Okay.
With the agreement...
Just a second. I could understand you taking back the $1,500 because you say that was his agreement with you, as was sort of buttressed by the fact that he put his banking information on the card. But why would you transfer any other money other than the $1,500 out of his account?
Courtney Friend claimed.
And Sarah, you're going to take a look at that?
It's the top card, sir. The one that says Chime. That's my digital wallet, my personal digital wallet.
So it's the same as when you put something in your Apple Wallet and you can pay using, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to describe this to you. If you log in to check your bank balance, you can save the card to your phone, so it makes it easier to pay with your phone. So it looks as if Mr. Friend logged in to the defendant's phone with his credentials and information.
So that
There's also latest transactions. The very last transaction was from 10/1/22.
And how much was that for?
$80 at a market. Then there's some gas stations.
That's for October. Prior to that,
there's a list of just latest transactions.
That's all those are the total transactions.
Yeah.
That you made?
Well,
just a second. There's an $80 transaction, according to Sarah, in October.
Yes, ma'am. So the way
was that your transaction?
It was.
Okay.
I have.
Well, just.
I'm sure they'll match with whatever.
$236 worth of charges. I charged $236 worth of charges.
From my husband's passing till.
Hold on. Hold. Well, I have $80 in October, but in transfer to, who is that?
That is
$1,400.
That is the deceased.
Who transferred that?
I transferred it. That is a GoFundMe account, and we'll get to this. The check that came through after he passed away hit my phone because he loaded his card onto my phone. The agreement was that I pay myself back when he was still alive with the funds that are on that phone.
Just a second.
The remaining I sent to a GoFundMe account.
Why did you do that? Just that your friend came to you.
100%.
That your friend came to you in need of money, that he and his wife were having difficulty, that he had an addiction problem, that he probably spent the rent money on his addiction problem. All of that sort of makes sense. And even though resorting to self-help after he passed, I would frown on. I would say this is a debt that's owed by his estate. And I could understand you, who had access to his account, taking back the $1,500 because you say that was his agreement with you, as was sort of buttressed by the fact that he put his banking information, and it's his sole banking information, on the card. But why would you transfer any other money other than the $1,500 out of his account?
Into his family's name, Your Honor, and I can show you why. I have transcripts with everyone that knows us. I could have a dozen people here. I'm sorry, I could have a dozen people here with me to make this claim, but this is a very sensitive situation for a lot of people involved. So I'm going to fight this fight on my own without them here.
Just a second.
And they will all tell you that this is the last person on earth that should have that money.
Just a second. This is not about you making a judgment or about 30 other people making
That's what Michael asked me
just
to
a
do.
second. Sir, unless you have a writing from the deceased that's authenticated in the same process as would authenticate a will, you have no right to make that judgment as to whether or not his wife and or child, I assume he died without a will, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So under the laws of practically every state, if you die intestate, which means you die without a will, there's a certain order of people who inherit your money. That you actually don't even have a right to repay yourself after he's dead. You have no right to do that. But I can actually understand your sense that unless you paid yourself, you weren't going to get your money back. I can understand that. But whatever your intentions were, sir, you have no right to do anything else with the money in that bank account.
May I?
Am I making myself clear? I hope so. Is that clear? Yeah.
Brought me right back to Will's Trust and Estates. So.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
Your Honor, Michael and I had an agreement. Okay, so whether or not he...
Sure, just a second. You and Michael had an agreement that you made a loan to him in the amount of $1,500, and in order to secure your repayment, I read your answer, sir.
Yeah.
He gave you his account number, and according to you, he said, when I get paid, you can take the money back that you loaned to me. That's $1,500.
May I continue? I've only used $236. That's all that I've used. $236, and I can show you the math here on this spreadsheet, but let's start with $1,500. $845 he paid back to me on August 24th, a week later.
Oh, okay, hold on a second. So $1,500.
That's right.
And he paid you back what?
$845 on August 24th.
Good for him.
Right.
Did he pay you back by Michael? Just listen to me. Don't play. Did he pay you back by coming to your house and giving you the money? Or
digitally.
Did he, shh. He paid you back digitally.
That's right.
May I see that, please, Kevin? Okay. Kevin, I'd like you to show this to the plaintiff. Have you seen this?
No.
Okay, I'd like to show this to the plaintiff. So Mr. Ivan acknowledges that your husband, Ms. Friend, pay attention, that your husband paid him back more than half of what he had borrowed. Now, then you took back, Mr. Ivan, from the account how much money?
$236.
No, that's not true.
Shh.
We can go line by line.
Shh.
That's a debit, not a credit.
He sent the $1,400 from Michael's
to the
account.
Yo, just a second. You can't do that, sir.
I have a baby.
Listen to me. You were there. You provided a shelter for Michael.
To get away
when
from
he
her.
was...
That's right. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
Courtney Friend has accused her former friend, Joseph T. Ivan Jr., of stealing money from her deceased husband's bank account.
Which of these charges? There's an $80 charge, a $60. Are those your charges?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
$140.
Just a second. $145.
Yes.
A $77.35.
Yes, and that's it. Those four.
What about Cash App?
That's the digital transaction that you just had.
Oh, an $845. Got it.
I'm still owed $392.
Okay. Now, how much money do you allege, and I'm going to give this to you or give you, you must have this. How much money do you allege that he took out of the account?
I'm asking for $2,700.
I don't care what you're asking for. That's irrelevant to me what you're... Miss
Well,
Friend,
it's proof right there.
I don't. Other than the $1,400, which he says he transferred to the GoFundMe page, did you receive for your daughter any part of this $1,400 that came from a GoFundMe page?
I have not, no.
Okay. Just a second.
Okay.
But the GoFundMe page was subsequent to your husband's death. Is that right?
Yeah.
Who started the GoFundMe page?
It was my husband's.
So this money did not belong to your husband. This money was not money from your husband. This money was started by somebody else, not the defendant, and somehow ended up in your husband's bank account. Am I getting that right?
No.
Well, what's this 40? How did it end
I
up?
transferred it from... That's Michael's bank account ledger that's attached to my digital wallet.
I understand.
And it's going to the GoFundMe. A GoFundMe is a special account that's set up in a tragic... Or, well, not necessarily.
I know exactly what it is, but what I'm not following is why would it not be in this...
It is. He's saying that is a to, not a receiving.
That's a debit, not a credit.
He sent the $1,400 from Michael's
to the
account.
just a second. Oh, you can't do that. Sorry, sir. You can't do that. So you took out money that didn't belong to you because at best case scenario, you're still owed $400.
$392.
Yeah, okay, $400. You were still owed $400, and you withdrew 14.
Have that money is this person right?
That's not your judgment to make. Sir.
That's fine.
Just a second. That's not. Listen to me. I tried to explain to you. What the laws of intestacy are in this country. If you die without a will, there are certain people who get your money, whether the deceased hates them, wasn't talking to them. It doesn't make any difference unless he and his wife are separated by a lawful separation order by the court. She and his daughter are entitled to this money, and it's not up to his best friend or his best friend's friends or other people to say he was angry with her, she threw him out. Whatever the reason that you're saying Michael would want the last person to receive any money from this GoFundMe page is the plaintiff, that's not your decision to make. You took back some of your own money. He paid you back some. You may get skunked for $400.
I don't want it.
Just a second. You may get skunked for $400. But if you sent this money to a GoFundMe page and that was $1,400
for the family's name, Your Honor,
you can't do that.
That's fine. I did it because Michael would not want her to have it, so I gave it to his family.
Okay. Well, you can't do that, sir.
I have a baby.
I'm not faulting you emotionally, sir.
Yeah.
Listen to me. You were there. You provided a shelter for Michael
to get away
when he was.
That's right. I'm sorry. I'll stop. That's a fact. It's just the truth.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,400. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
It doesn't matter. The woman's a fraud. She's a fraud. That money should not be going to her. She's the last person on earth that this gentleman wanted to have that money.
I'm happy. I'm happy that she would.
Courtney's out for money. Always was in the relationship.
Take money from a new mom, someone who's grieving. It's been such a mess, and I feel good about this.
Because I'm the only one who would do the right thing with it, and he knew that.
He was very defensive. He was very defensive and very hateful.
I'm the great guy. He'd want me to fight the good fight. All good.
He shouldn't have took anything from me. I've already lost so much.
Happy it's over.
I've lost my best friend, my husband, the love of my life, and the father of our new child. It's not okay. He caught me in a very vulnerable state.
That case, for as tragic as it was, and I really felt for the plaintiff, brought me right back to wills, trust, and estates, and the basic, 3 rules: age of majority, of sound mind, and a writing. And it's just really unfortunate that the plaintiff's husband didn't have one.
If I were to venture a guess, I would say that most people, when they're under 40, don't have a will. Yeah. He was a new father, baby.
Makes it all that much more important.
Yeah, it does. But he was a new father with a cocaine addiction.
Yeah. Tough to try and guess the mental state of someone going through that. But I also agreed with you that you can't fault the defendant for his he knew how his friend felt, and he was trying to carry out those wishes. But there is the law and there are rules, and you can't take it upon yourself to redistribute your friend's money.
Or the GoFundMe money. Yeah.
After her dog was injured during Cherie's care.
Miss Hernandez, how old is your puppy?
She's 6 months, Your Honor.
And when she was 4 months old, you needed a home sitter for your dog. Or
yes.
You needed a place to board her for a weekend, long weekend. You live on an Army base.
A naval base.
Naval base. Mm-hmm. Does the defendant live on the base as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she approached you or whatever and said that she was available for sitting. Is that what you do to make some extra money?
Yes, Your Honor.
And on the 22nd of December of last year, which is when this incident occurred, you dropped the dog off at the defendant's home.
December 16th.
It was the 16th?
Yes.
And when you dropped the puppy off at the defendant's home, I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe, that you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister, and you saw what happened with the dog. Yeah. Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me.
Sofia Hernandez claims her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, is responsible for vet bills after her dog Dolce was injured during Cherie's care.
Because Ms. Hernandez has an outstanding vet bill for surgery.
We took her in, and we had also another dog.
I want you to tell me, you. When you say you took her in, did you or somebody else?
It's a family effort. My children also help take care of the dogs. I started watching dogs because my youngest child was deathly afraid of dogs. She was bit by a dog at the age of 2. So we started this so she could learn how to take care of dogs properly, know their signs and things like that. And we took Dolce into my daughter's room.
Which daughter?
Into my youngest daughter's room.
Is that you?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. And how old is your youngest daughter?
She's 10.
Okay, so I want you to be consistent with what you put in your answer. You were all in your daughter's room?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Just 1 second. Okay. So your husband was with another dog in the yard.
Yes.
So I brought this dog into my daughter's room, your 10-year-old daughter's room, to settle down.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you don't know what happened because you weren't watching.
I was actually...
No, you were not watching. That's what it says here.
Well, I was taking pictures.
It doesn't make any difference. It would be on your camera if you were taking pictures. And if you were taking pictures, then you would have exactly what happened with the dog that caused the dog to have a broken leg. But you don't have those pictures. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that you were not watching and you did not see what happened at the moment the dog was injured.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
But I do have a witness that I brought with me, my daughter, who actually did see as I was sending pictures to Ms. Hernandez.
You sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Be very careful, Ms. Vieira. Are you sure you want to put her there for me to question? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Your
I don't
Honor.
think, I don't think so. And you saw what happened with the dog.
Yes.
Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me. So you were in the room?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Your first name is?
Abigail.
I'd like to see a picture of Abigail in the room with the dog when you were sending pictures, allegedly, to the plaintiff of the dog. I just want to see pictures of her in the room.
Your Honor, I did not make pictures of those.
Why not? She was there. You were taking pictures of the dog. I assume your 10-year-old's room is not the size of
Dolce.
I don't care after you were bit by Dolce. You were bit by the puppy because she was injured.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That was after she was injured.
Yes.
I want to see a picture of your daughter that you were taking pictures of, allegedly to send to the plaintiff to show her how the dog was adjusting.
I do not have pictures of that,
Right.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Miss Vieira, do you want to know the truth? I don't believe you were in the room with your daughter, either one of them, and the puppy. I think that you left the puppy with your 10-year-old, and you don't know what happened. That's what I believe. And whether I believe, and it's accurate or not accurate, the dog was injured in your care. So you're responsible for the surgical bill. It's that simple. Dog got a broken leg in your care with enough adults there to watch the dog. Your husband, the older daughter, and you put her in the room with your 10-year-old because you...
Urgent care bill and the surgery bill as well.
So the invoice was $58.18?
For the surgery.
And $862. $66.08, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
You know, I'm happy because those vet bills are really high. You know, it's not something that
I still don't know. I researched online. I think maybe that the dog already had an injury prior. She was at my house 25 minutes.
I would never drop off my dog like that.
She jumped up to retrieve a toy out of my daughter's hand from the floor, a fluffy carpet, and she landed and cried.
With a pre-existing condition, I would watch her myself.
About 3 minutes after, I called her mom to let her know that she was hurt, injured.
You know, my heart dropped. You know, I was upset we didn't go on the trip, but it's my baby. Turned around.
She wanted to know how bad it was because she wanted to go on her trip, and I told her it was bad enough for her dog to bite me.
We took her straight to the urgent care.
I asked her to come back to get her dog. I didn't want to move the dog, so she came back and had us bring the dog out. Glad the dog's okay.
Dulce's great. Her leg is healed. She's on a recovery program.
So, no issue?
Simple.
Dog didn't break its leg itself?
Yep.
You know, common sense dictates to me that they brought the puppy in to play with the 10-year-old. Otherwise, they would have had photographs of the other daughter in the room. It didn't happen, but it really doesn't matter because
No bad intentions, no, you know, nothing was done on purpose, but...
No, but it was negligent. Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2195, Surratt versus Vasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Surratt, you and Mr. Vasquez were in a relationship for a period of time and have 2 children together. How old are the children?
I have a daughter that's 15 and a son that's 8.
How long did you and Mr. Vasquez live together, if you did live together?
It was a lot of off and on, so I would say maybe a combined time of 8 years.
And does your daughter enjoy a relationship with her father?
Unfortunately, no.
Is that correct?
As far as I knew, that she had a great relationship with me.
When was the last time you saw your daughter, sir?
We spoke just a couple of days ago. You know, she has more time with friends now, but I do speak with her on a frequent basis.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Why don't you wait outside? Okay? Because, Ms. Surratt, I don't believe in, unless it's absolutely necessary, and certainly in this situation, it doesn't sound to me as if it's absolutely necessary to have your teenage daughter as a witness over a couple of $1,000s, which you may or may not be entitled to. Certainly, her father is in touch with her. She said he's in touch with her, which means that they communicate and that they have a relationship. Because I read the complaint and I read the answer, and I have a few basic questions. You're suing Mr. Vasquez, who you haven't lived with in many, many years, but who you share, according to what I've read here, joint legal and physical custody. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that pursuant to a court order?
Yes.
And when was that court order made?
I have a copy of it, so I can tell you.
2011, Your Honor. 2011.
Was there a trial, Mr. Vasquez?
There was a trial.
It was from 2017.
Well, there was one in 2011.
This is the original one. It hasn't changed since then. We have parenting and legal custody, and a child support order, which is separate.
Oh, so the 2016 order, the ex parte order, originally granted Mr. Vasquez custody of the children. Yes, you were the respondent in that case. So on October 28, 2016, petitioner, that is Mr. Vasquez, filed a motion to establish custody and parenting time. The petitioner, that is Mr. Vasquez, seeks joint legal and physical custody. The petitioner also sought an order granting sole legal custody of the children based upon the allegations that his daughter was watching his son without supervision for extended periods of time and that his daughter was not attending school. Child Protective Services did an investigation and actually found that you were not sending your daughter to school.
Correct.
And she was staying home and she was babysitting. Okay. Would you tell me, without my having to go through this whole thing, was there a child support order entered?
Yes.
Ultimately the children remained with you?
Correct.
The final order. And what was the child support order?
The child support order initially was $93 a month. I think I have a copy of it. And then to increase based off cost of living adjustments.
Your Honor.
I'm sorry, that's not the order.
Well, I asked how much you pay. Were you ever in arrears of payment?
I was at one point, and then I caught up, so I've been caught
Well,
up.
they're catching up, so that $230 may be partly arrears. What is the order?
Oh, I'm completely caught up with my child support.
So the current order that you're paying is $230 a month?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. This is what you're suing for. It is your claim that Mr. Vasquez agreed to pay half of certain sporting fees that the children had that are not contained in the child support order, and he didn't. So you're suing him for that, and he says that you never had such an agreement, that you enrolled the children in sporting activities, and then came to him and said, do you owe me half? Am I reading that correctly?
Your Honor, that's correct.
That's your position?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's move on to the plaintiff's position that you wanted to change the child support order to not what he was paying, but what he was paying, and half of their sporting activities.
We actually had a verbal agreement.
Well, I'd like you to tell me when that took place, what you said to him, and what he said to you. So tell me first when that verbal agreement took place.
It was 2021, probably, just a conversation between two parents to say if we enroll.
It's a conversation between two parents.
Right.
So he's seeing the children, he's paying his child support, whatever the order was. You have a conversation with him. Is it on the phone or in person?
Desiree Surratt claims her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, owes for the cost of a car and childcare. Curtis is countersuing for car repairs and vacation.
Between two parents to say if we enroll.
It's a conversation between two parents.
Right.
So he's seeing the children, he's paying his child support, whatever the order was. You have a conversation with him. Is it on the phone or in person?
No, in person.
At your home?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about the conversation. What did you say to him and what did he say to you?
I don't remember the exact words, but...
Well, that's why we bring these things quickly, because now it's 2 years later.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was basically, well, he wants to play this sport, Angelina wants to do track, this is how much it's going to cost, and his response was just, okay, let me know how much it is, and I'll pay half.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not quite correct. We don't have just conversation. We don't have any conversation at all. We communicate via text, and I rarely get a response. I've taken care of...
Just a second. We're talking about this one instance.
Okay.
She said that you had a conversation with her where you agreed to pay half of their sporting events. Based on that, I assume that you enrolled the children in the sporting events, paid the fee, and then said to him, this is your half. And he said, I'm not paying that half.
That's not correct, Your Honor. I didn't agree to pay half.
No, I'm not saying you agreed to pay half. That's what her position is.
I actually enrolled my son into soccer.
When?
It was this summer in July. And he was supposed to go for a month, and she took the kids out of the state without my knowledge for an extended vacation. And so I didn't have her pay half of that. And when she came back, she wanted to make that up to him. But that's without my knowledge.
Okay. How much did you pay for court order for support? Okay. So I'm eliminating that. You want to change the order of support, you have to change it in court. Now let's move on to the second thing that you think that he owes you for. Cell phone. Let's hear about the cell phone.
He opened a cell phone account for my daughter.
When?
I don't know when it was.
When did you open a cell phone account, sir?
About 7 years ago.
And he paid it? He opened an account and he paid it?
Him or his dad. It was a business account.
I don't care.
I don't know
You
if he
didn't
paid
pay it.
Correct.
You didn't pay it. So your daughter has had a cell phone for the last 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you didn't see the bills for it?
Correct.
Okay, so he paid it.
Somebody paid it, yes. Yeah.
He paid it.
I paid it, Your Honor.
You didn't pay it?
Correct.
Okay. So now you want money for a cell phone. For what?
Just for the last 6 months that I paid, I never agreed to, so I'm just asking for
Then
half
take
of
the
that.
phone away.
Well, she's 15, she's got
I
a
understand
job,
that. I understand that. Who bought her the phone?
I bought the phone.
Okay. And how many years ago did you buy the phone?
It was about 1.5 years ago.
Okay. And it's paid for on his plan?
No, I paid for the phone cash.
No. The bills, ongoing bills, were paid for by him and the phone that you bought her 1.5 years ago, because you said you've been paying the bills for 6 months.
Yep.
Is that correct? Whitney, didn't you say I've been paying the bills for the last 6 months?
Yes. Correct.
Well, so when you first got the phone for a year, he was paying the bills.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Well, he was paying the bills for 7 years, but certainly after you bought the phone. But prior to that, she had a different phone. She had to have had a different phone because he was paying the phone bills for 6 years. Who bought that phone?
I don't know.
Your Honor, I purchased that phone. It was the iPhone XR.
Okay. So you bought the first phone, you bought a second phone. Very court's involved for.
I never agreed to pay the cell phone.
Well, he never agreed to pay his cell phone when she was 13 or 12. Your parents. He paid it for a long time. Now you're paying it. What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a realtor.
You work in a family business?
Absolutely.
Tell me about the family business.
It's children first and foremost. You know, what's best for them.
No. The family business, sir.
Oh, the family business.
You're in real estate. Is it a family business?
It is not a family business.
It's just yours. And you've been in real estate for how long?
For about 3 years now. And prior to that, I was in sales. That is a family business, and it's real estate marketing.
That's a family business.
That's family business.
You're not involved with that anymore. You still are?
Yes.
Who owns that business?
Dad.
Your father?
He does, yes.
How many employees do you have?
Just about 10, Your Honor.
So your father employs 10 people and you're one of them?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And what does your father pay you annually?
Oh, it's commission only, so no benefits.
And in the other real estate operation, do you have your own office or do you operate out of your father's office?
My own office.
Where?
In Maple Grove, Minnesota.
Do you have any employees?
I don't.
So you work for your father on commission and yourself?
Commission only as
Commission
well in the
only.
real estate market.
Okay. Did you file tax returns last year?
No, I did not.
Is there any reason for that?
Just late. Just over.
You're late. You're a year late.
Yeah.
What about the year before? Did you file tax return?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Phone bill, you paid it for her, fine. And if you don't want to pay it anymore, let her get an after-school job and pay for her own phone. Now, the next thing that you're suing for is, according to your complaint, you had a car that you weren't using. Mr. Vasquez has a father who wanted a car. It is your claim that Mr. Vasquez, without your permission, sold the car, your car, to his father for $700, and you didn't get any of that money.
Correct.
Mr. Vasquez says his father was going to buy the car. He drove it. He didn't want to buy it because it had issues, and it's sitting in his father's driveway waiting for you to come and get it, and that he never got $700 from his father for the car. That's his position, correct?
No, there's a correction. I did get $700 and paid him back the next day because the car broke down within a day.
Because what?
It broke down within a day.
Okay, so you did sell it to him.
Yes, yes. We were in the middle of the transaction. He paid for the car at the office, which is about 10 miles away from home. And while driving the car home, it broke down. So we hadn't received the title or anything, so I returned the money.
Desiree Surratt has accused her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, of selling her car without her permission. Curtis claims he refunded the money, and she can take the car back.
Okay, so you did sell it to him.
Yes, yes. We were in the middle of the transaction. He paid for the car at the office, which is about 10 miles away from home. And while driving the car home, it broke down. So we hadn't received the title or anything, so I returned the money.
Is the car still titled in your name?
Yes.
So go get it.
I don't want the car, no.
Well, it's your car. It's titled in your name.
Yes, but apparently I have text messages showing.
Sitting in the driveway, his father doesn't want it, title didn't transfer, he didn't get money for the car and keep it. It was a sort of silly transaction because what you are suggesting is he should have said to his father, that's it, it was sold, it's sold as is, you can't have your $700 back.
Right, and my understanding is that his dad, through a conversation that I had with his dad did not get the money back.
You can't tell me about the conversation. If you have text messages between them, I would like to see them.
I do, yes. So there's those text messages. And I also have several text messages where Curtis agrees to pay me the money and also telling me the
This
car
is
ran
Desiree.
the
Curtis said you would take possession of the Kia, but I asked about the title. Big Curtis, is that your father?
Your Honor, yes, it is.
Okie dokie. Mr. Vasquez, your father says that he gave you the money.
That's correct.
And that it certainly wasn't a day, because 2 weeks later, he writes back, sorry, not good at checking my text. If we could arrange for me to get the title while you were here, that would be awesome. That's 2 weeks later. Your father didn't say to her, he gave me the money back. He said, I want the title. That's 2 weeks later. So the story you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John.
Well, Your Honor, there's one thing that we need to clear up right away is that it was never sold without her knowledge.
Just a second. Now what I'm asking you, sir, I'm saying that your original story to me was that I sold my father the car down the next day.
He said the car broke down within a day.
Within a day, and so you gave him his money back. Well, that's not what your father says here, sir. That's not what your father says here.
I went back and forth with him for days, but I gave him his money back.
No. What you told me was a lie. You told me it broke down the day you gave him his money back. The initial conversation she had was May 9th. And then May 16th, she's having a conversation with Big Curtis. That's your father. Mm-hmm. Sorry for not checking my texts. Can you get me the title? Which means 2 weeks later, he wanted the title. And then your father says about you, Curtis owes me big time money. And I can't get money from him either. That's your father.
Yeah, that's
yes.
correct, Your Honor.
Big Curtis says to her, Can you tell me what problem does Curtis have that caused him to spend massive amounts of money in such a short period of time? She answers, drugs, alcohol, gambling, he's a functional addict. He even got around $40,000 and he blew every penny. So the $700 you gave him for the car, I'm just going to file a small claims. For whatever reason, he's refusing to give it to me. It's not your fault that he stole the money from me. Just FYI, I have no issue giving you the title. Okay. So far, he owes you $700 for the car. And then we're finished. Get Big Curtis the title. Mail it to him. He sends you his address.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Great. Now you have a counterclaim, Mr. Vasquez.
Yes, Your Honor. I have some evidence I'd
Don't give me all that nonsense. You say that the plaintiff canceled a vacation trip. You made plane arrangements to take your children somewhere, and she took the children out of state and was on parts. When was that?
That was the car in question that we were just talking about.
Okay, you planned a trip to Portugal in August of 2022.
That's correct.
Airplane tickets. Where'd you get the money for all that?
My parents helped me with the purchase of the kids' tickets.
Why?
Because I couldn't afford all of them.
Who was going on the trip?
It was going to be my wife, myself, and 2 kids.
Did you go on the vacation to Portugal with your wife?
No, we did not make it.
You did not make it?
Correct. Why? Because she is responsible of...
No, not her. Not with your 2 kids. Did you go with your wife?
No, I didn't.
Why?
I didn't want to go without the kids. It was the whole purpose was to bring the kids to see the grandparents.
Does your wife work?
Yes.
What kind of work does she do?
She's a bartender.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. Don't make any more private agreements with him, madam. I think it's a big mistake.
I agree.
We're done. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're
Your Honor.
finished.
Thank you.
We're
I
finished.
had one more.
I just ruled that your counterclaim is dismissed.
Your Honor.
You're finished. I have very little to say about that case, very little thoughts, except that Big Curtis, the defendant's father, doesn't like him.
I didn't get to read the messages, but
Clearly.
I'll
He
take
said,
your
what
word
is he
for it."
doing with all the money? My initial reading of that case was, maybe she's being unreasonable. She's really not being unreasonable.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there's not a lot more to little Curtis than we were able to.
Paid loan she gave him for a car.
Miss Young, the defendant is married to your daughter?
No.
He is the father of your grandchild.
Yes.
Do he and your daughter live together?
No.
Where does your daughter live?
In Maple Shade.
Were they ever married?
No.
They have one child.
Yes.
Who's 12?
Yes.
Did you live together with Miss Young's daughter?
Well, at one point, she lived with me in Maple Shade.
How long ago?
This was 2010, 2011.
You mean when your daughter was a baby?
Yes.
How long have you had custody of your granddaughter?
11 years. My daughter never stayed with him.
I don't know. And he wrote that off of the loan. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Essie Young claims her granddaughter's father, Keith Buchanan, refuses to pay back a loan she gave him for a car.
This is a very simple case, because I don't have to get into the history of...
He was calling every day.
Did you maintain a relationship with him?
Yes and no.
Would he visit his daughter?
No.
Ever?
Once in a blue moon.
Okay.
I usually have to take my granddaughter to see him.
Okay. It was sort of odd to me if he was never married to your daughter, so they didn't have a formalized relationship. They don't live together now. Why would you loan him? I know that you did.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you loan him money?
My granddaughter.
Except you're a very nice person.
My granddaughter asked me to. She said, "Grandma, would you please help my dad?" I told her I really don't want to.
During one of these visits that you needed money to buy a car?
No, never did.
You never did?
No.
Who is this person?
That's my wife.
Does she work?
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes.
Well, why would you ask your daughter's grandmother, who takes care of her, who's always taken care of her? You don't. Neither does her mother. Why would you not ask your wife's family? You both work. Take out a loan. Why would you go to her and ask her for money?
But it was just... Yes, you do. I did that, and at the time, they couldn't help
So you went to her parents first?
I went to her family first. They said they can't help at the time. So Mrs. Young was my last resource, which I didn't want to use, but at the time I had to use it because I had no other choice. I had to hurry up and get a vehicle.
Well, why didn't you take out a loan?
Actually, I couldn't.
What do you mean you couldn't?
Because my credit's not all that great. I tried to take out loans. I tried to go.
Does your wife have a car?
Yes, she has a car.
Okay, why don't you use her car?
She worked. I work an hour and a half away from home, and she worked too, and we worked around the same time.
How much money did you borrow from her?
$2,000.
How much did you give back?
$912.
$912. From what?
From my taxes. And we agreed on once I filed my taxes, I would give her $2,000 for my taxes. She got $912 from them, that same taxes, because I owed backup child support. So she got on top of my regular payment for child support plus $912.
What? Is there something wrong with your mind?
No.
Did you just say to me, am I crazy? Did he say he owed back child support?
Yes.
Oh, my God. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Well, not ever. I should take that back. It's the dumbest thing I've heard today. If you owed her back child support, how much did you owe her?
I only owed her $900.
In back child support?
Yes.
Okay.
That I fully forgot.
Just a second. You owed her that money. In addition to owing her that money, you owed her $2,000. Do you understand that? So you owed her $900 plus $2,000. Are you not following me? Am I getting something wrong here?
I'm with you.
Out of your taxes for back child support, $900. So that means you paid her $900 of the $2,000. That's what your argument is.
Yes.
Am I getting that?
Yes.
You already owed her the $900.
I had no awareness that I owed her $900. When I found out that $900 got taken out the taxes.
Now I need more time. Oh, my God. How is your granddaughter in school? She do okay?
Yes, she
does
well.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Either his math skills or his moral skills are somehow lacking.
It's the moral.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think the judge seen right through him.
He was going to be miserable, so I just let him be miserable.
No one thinks like that.
As long as she go about her life, I go about my life, leave my family alone.
I just think he was hustling me.
Only contact me when he got something to do with my daughter, that's it.
I don't want any.
He was expecting $2,000 on his tax returns, so he told plaintiff, when I get it, I'll repay you the $2,000. And then in his mind, when the $900 left the account, he didn't know that that was not going to be there for the back child support. So he only had, the $900 and change left to give her. I was like, okay, that makes sense. He thought that it would be the full $2,000. Come to find out, he thinks that the back child support is what fulfills his
loan
obligation.
Ms. Morrissey, you have a lot of claims here against the defendant for a personal loan and the value of personal belongings.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. She was a friend of yours. You used to go gambling together, Ms. Morrissey?
Yes, we did.
How many times a week did you go gambling?
Probably once or twice a week.
And did you go just the two of you?
Yes.
And over what period of time?
Over
a year, 2, 3?
Probably a year.
There was a time when you went, and according to you, Miss Comer didn't have any money. And so you agreed to advance her money. And she says, actually, you agreed to advance her money. And the agreement was if you won, she would pay you back with her winnings, whatever it was. Whatever it was. How much money did you give her to gamble?
I loaned her $230 with the agreement that she would pay me an extra $200 because we were going to go meet at the casino, but I didn't really want to do it because I have a boyfriend that doesn't
Just a second. I don't need a whole story.
Okay. All right. Sorry. So she went to the casino without me, and then she came by my house after that and told me that she spent her boyfriend's money at the casino, and so that she was supposed to use it at the store. And so I gave her the money to cover that, and that's when we made that agreement.
You gave her the money to cover that because she asked you for it?
Yes.
And she agreed to pay you back?
Yes.
Lost some of your boyfriend
in February.
What month?
It was probably April.
I don't care what month it was. Did you tell her you lost your boyfriend's money?
Tabitha Morrissey claims her former friend Tina Comer owes for an unpaid loan and personal belongings.
Go.
No, it was in February.
Okay, February.
I won a jackpot.
Just a second. February, did you go to the casino and lose some of your boyfriend's money?
No.
Okay. Did you go to her house and tell her that you lost some of your boyfriend?
It wasn't in February.
What month?
It was probably April.
I don't care what month it was. Did you tell her you lost your boyfriend's money at the casino?
$30 of it.
I don't want to hear you.
Sorry. So I asked Tabitha if she would take me back up to get my jackpot money, and I would pay her the money that I owe her, plus give her $60 for gas. And that's when I paid her the money back. And then her boyfriend also, there's some guy that she brought up there with us, asked if he can borrow some money because he said Tabitha said she'll pay me back. So I gave him $100 too.
When you came back and told her that you had lost some of your boyfriend's money, according to you, it was $30, not $230.
$30. I already paid her the $2-something when she took me to Cass Creek in February.
Oh, that was before.
Yeah, that's why I didn't owe her no money. But I paid her back in February, the money that I did owe her.
Come on, let's go.
Okay, well, here's where I won the money.
Proof. I also got proof of her saying that when she still owed me the money back in May. I got proof of that, too.
Casino check. I'm not interested in this.
That's when I won the money.
I don't care.
And the other one shows when I had to go back and pick it up.
I don't care about that either.
And then...
Shh. April 28th. I can loan you some. That's in April.
Yeah, I said April 28th.
So that's when she asks for some money.
Yes.
And that was the $230?
Yes.
I'd like to see what you have.
This is...
That's April. That's not February.
No. That's in June when she told me how what she owed me in cash-wise.
Okay, so on June, and you say to her, so don't tell me you don't steal from me. Friends don't steal from friends. So I won't burn you for what I borrowed, which is $230. But I decided I will not give you the other $200. So I'm just not going to give you the extra. That's what it's going to cost you for stealing from me. You should think twice before you steal from, because I could say, I'm not giving you nothing. So I'm only taking back what I was going to give you. We had to sign some more papers, so I should get it. She lied, saying the hair clippers were hers. I don't care about all that. Okay, I'm going to deal with this loan of $230. And it's clear from your statement, Ms. Comer, although it's usurious interest, and I'm not going to grant you that other $200 because it's outrageous. She's giving you 100% interest on the $230, but you are entitled to your $230 back.
But
okay, because she acknowledges, just a second, she acknowledges the debt on June 11th. Mm-hmm. Now, what about the personal belongings that you say? And don't give me a lot of nonsense. I'm not listening to a lot of nonsense.
Okay, yes. She came to me and said she wanted to do a yard sale, so we were going to do it in May.
Okay, you were supposed to do a yard sale.
Yes.
It worked for a week. It didn't work the next week. What items do you say she has of yours?
She has Judy in it.
Well, what'd she end up with your stuff for? You were there at the yard sale.
I didn't have a car, so she came and picked me up and took me to my storage to go get my yard sale stuff to take over to her house to do it in the yard sale. She was supposed to contact me and come get me when she was getting ready to do the yard sale. I stayed the night at her house, and we were setting up all night long because it was a really big yard sale. It was more like a flea market type thing. And she never contacted me after dropping me back off at home, and she said that my personal belongings.
You have it?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you. So this looks like a lot of cheap plastic crystals.
No, my wedding ring was in that box. No, it wasn't. I had my box of jewelry with me to go through when I stayed the night at her house. And I was taking out the other jewelry. And the box that was coming with me home, she was loading it up, and she said it fell out of her car. So I don't see how it fell out, but she said it did. So when she got there that night, she said she'd seen it in her driveway. So, I mean, that had my wedding ring in it. And I was in the middle of getting the divorce, but it still means something to me.
Mm-hmm. $230.
Because she just doesn't want to pay me my money.
She just wants to get money out of me. Because I won 2 jackpots and I got my mother's inheritance.
It hurts very much.
She's done.
I don't even care to see her.
That was really very simple when you discarded this garage sale and crystal beads listed as some of the items in the text message that were their boyfriends. Tweezers. When you got rid of that, it was actually pretty simple.
Cash loan, $230.
Cash loan, $230 that she acknowledged in June. So, have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2163, Raquel versus Talon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Rocco, this is basically what the case is about. You and the defendant were in a relationship. You have one child together. And it is your claim that some 3 years ago, he took your car with your permission. You were living together at the time. He took your car and had an accident.
Correct, yes.
And that was 3 years ago. And you want him to pay $5,000 on a car that Sarah has already checked, which is worth...
Between $1,400 and $3,000.
Which is worth a quarter of that. Do you understand?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I want you to forget about $5,000. So if he's responsible for anything for the car, he's responsible for what its value is, which is about $1,400. How long had you been living together when he borrowed the car?
About a year.
Okay. And was your child born during that time?
Yes.
What month and year was the child born?
August 2018.
When was the first time that you asked Mr. Talon for money for this car that had been in an accident?
After he was released from jail, he got arrested from a previous warrant at the scene of the accident directly from the hospital. So when he was released from jail.
What was the date of the accident?
April 30th, 2019.
And how long were you held in jail, sir?
I believe June 11th or so, roughly almost 6 weeks.
What was the warrant for?
Domestic battery.
Against whom?
Against Eve.
Against her?
Against Eve. Yes, against her.
Well, you were living together. Did you file another complaint after the accident?
No, I didn't. There was a warrant from the initial complaint.
And what year was that?
That was, realized that a warrant had been released until it was acted upon.
Well, when he was arrested and he was held in jail, he contacted you, correct?
Yes.
Of course he did, because he said, what's going on? We're living together. We have a child. What's this warrant for domestic battery?
It just took time for me to get it dismissed.
No. What I'm asking you is, he contacted you.
Yes.
And when he was released in June of 2019, where did he go to live?
He came back.
For what period of time?
About a month, maybe 2 months at the most.
And you lived together as a couple with the baby?
Yes.
And how old was the baby at the time?
He would have been about between 6 and 8 months off the top of my head.
And the two of you cared for him?
Yes.
And during that 2 or 3 month period, there was no discussion that you have in writing about paying back for the car?
Not in writing.
Not in writing?
Yeah.
Now, what happened after the 2 months?
He began exhibiting behaviors that were the behaviors of somebody who was using drugs. Again, he was clean for a long period of time, and his attitude changed, his behaviors changed, and I decided that it was time for him to go back to his mother's house.
And he did?
Correct, yes.
It was after a couple of months?
Yes.
So that would have been in maybe August or September. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in August or September. Did he continue to see his son?
Until recently. We're pretty much...
Recently, so you're talking about 19, 20, 21?
Yes.
Right? And
there was a period of time where, because he was living with his mother at first, there was a period of time where I didn't know where he was living. It made me uncomfortable that I was bringing my son, even though they were visiting at his mother's house. It made me uncomfortable that he wouldn't let me know an address for him, just in case anything happened, just in case, anything happened, basically. He didn't give me an address for me to find him or for me to know where Eden might be if anything were to happen.
So what I'm getting is for 3 years after this accident, there was no request that you can demonstrate. Now, you weren't together, certainly, so for the last 2 years, you never went and filed claiming that he owed you money for the car.
So I did. Sorry.
Is that correct?
No, I did attempt to file several times, but I didn't have an address for him. I tried to file once for an address where he was at his mother's.
Do you have any proof of that?
I do not.
No. You continued to bring your son for visitation with his father.
Correct.
Which is a very easy thing to do. You're a smart enough gal. I'm gathering that. You bring a friend, you serve him personally with a summons and complaint. So the answer is for 3 years you did nothing. Now I'm going to find out why. After 3.5 years, you filed this complaint over a $1,400 car.
Eve Rockio claims her ex-boyfriend, Andrew Talon, owes for totaling her car. Andrew is countersuing for emotional distress and attorney fees after Eve took their son.
Okay. 2.5 years, you filed this complaint over a $1,400 car. Now, Mr. Talon says in his cross-complaint that there came a time when you left the state, the jurisdiction, that was the child's home state.
Yes.
And when did you leave the jurisdiction?
That was in September of 2021.
And you went from where to where?
We went from Florida. We stopped in South Carolina for a period of time. We had a little vacation before we had to go, because we were going to work. We were going to clear a property out for sale.
So you left the jurisdiction with the child?
Yes.
Prior to that, Mr. Talon had been seeing the child regularly at his mother's house?
Yes.
Did you tell him you were leaving?
Yes.
What did he say when you told him you were leaving?
He didn't really say anything. He just wanted to spend time with him, which he was, they did spend time together before we left.
Not before, after you left. You moved to New Jersey.
I didn't move. I didn't move to New Jersey.
What did you do?
So, like I said, we went there to liquidate a house that we have there. It took longer than expected.
How long?
It took about 5 months, 6 months. Things happened with the closing. Deals were made and fell through.
How long did you tell him you were going to be away?
I was only supposed to be away for 2 weeks.
That's a big deal, Miss Rockhill. That's a big deal.
It is.
Because if he says, I'm taking Eden for a 2-week vacation, if that's okay, I know you took him away, I'd like to take him away for a 2-week holiday, and he goes away for 6 months, you wouldn't like that. I'm going away for 6 months, and he said, okay, well, then you agree to. But you said, we'll be away for 2 weeks. And it lasted longer.
Yes,
and during the time that it lasted longer, about 6 months longer than it was supposed to, what arrangements did you make for your son to see his father?
They had video calls regularly. I told him I would be back as soon as I could.
Just a second. So the answer is, you did not make any, because he has a counterclaim here.
Yes.
And his counterclaim is for the fact that you took the child out of the jurisdiction and deprived him of the ability to see the child. Subsequently, due to circumstances, and I'm not sure what that is, the child is no longer in your custody.
Temporary.
The child is no longer in your custody. The child is in the physical custody of the paternal grandmother. Is that correct? And that is by court order?
Yes.
The beginning of that process was made in what month and year?
July of 2022.
Was that a child protective proceeding?
It was, yes.
And I assume that if there was a child protective proceeding, that the court found that based upon whatever was alleged in the petition that was not brought by him, but by the Department of Social Services or Child Welfare Administration, they found that the child would be at risk in your custody.
Yes.
And as a result of that, they took the child into care. And this is all stuff, because I've been here. This is my bread and butter. Instead of placing the child in a strange foster home, they placed the child with the defendant's mother.
Correct.
For how long a period? 18 months?
Indefinite. There's no specified period of time. However,
well, if the court is placing a child through the state, unless you relinquish your parental rights, did you do that?
No, I didn't.
You're ready to assume custody of the child, right? So when is this case going to be reviewed?
I believe the next review is in February.
February of this year?
This year, correct, yes.
That's a reasonable answer, so that you do know. So that's the change in circumstance. Now, getting back, Ms. Rockhill, to what motivated you after 3 years, after you gave him permission to drive the car and he had an accident, and you made up this whole baloney story in your complaint that says, police arrested Andrew at the scene of the accident because I had previously filed a domestic abuse charge against him and there was a warrant. But you were living together during the time that there was this outstanding warrant. You were living together and conceived a child with him.
The child was already conceived. He was already born at the time of the domestic violence altercation. He was about
2018?
In the end of 2018, yes. He was born in August. The altercation happened in November. So he was very young.
But you reunited and were living together with him as a family.
Yes.
Right. The police arrested Andrew on a domestic abuse charge, and there was a warrant. When Andrew was released from jail, he disappeared.
So
that's what, just a second. That's what you say here. He disappeared. My car was fully paid off, and I had no liability insurance. Andrew refused to pay for my total car, and he refused to see our son. He moved and went into hiding. That's what you signed. That's your complaint. Jurisdiction to New Jersey for 6 months because he had been regularly seeing his son at his mother's house.
But he wasn't living at his mother's house.
It doesn't make any difference. That's not what you say here. He may not have been living there. He may not have wanted you to know where he was living.
He didn't, and that's
well,
why. So I
that's
filed
okay.
against
He doesn't have to tell you where he's living. Unless a judge orders him, he doesn't have to tell you where he's living. You were having visitation at his mother's house. So all of this stuff after the accident is all a bunch of baloney.
Eve Rockhill has accused her ex-boyfriend, Andrew Talon, of totaling her car. Andrew claims Eve kept him from seeing their son.
You knew exactly where he was until you moved.
I didn't, though. He was not living at his mother's house at the time. That was just a place that he was visiting with Eden that I would bring him to.
Perfect. So you would set the terms of that, and the terms were that he could see the child even without a court order because he was his father and had lived with him after he got out of jail.
Yes.
Lived with him, but you don't say here, after he got out of jail.
But I didn't put that.
I don't think you have a case. He drove the car with your permission. You were living together as a couple. You have a child together. Your case is dismissed. Now, I want you to tell me, sir, you have a counterclaim for her kidnapping your son. She left the jurisdiction. You called Child Protective Services.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me when you called Child Protective Services, because that's the reason that this lawsuit came about.
The last time I saw him before she left to stay with him was September 19th. Me and my family, we went to SeaWorld, and she was supposed to meet me. She said when we dropped off that she was going to meet me in Tampa. And when I called her, she said that she was in Jacksonville. She lives in Ocala, so she was still 2 hours northeast of where she lived, and she wasn't in Tampa. So I just decided to take him home rather than argue. I took him home. And the baby. I had an interview with the caseworker or the investigator initially.
Were you there in court when your mother was granted? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Was Miss Rockhill?
Yes, she was there too.
You see your son regularly?
Yes, ma'am.
So the period of time when you did not see him was a 6-month period, is that right?
That was the second time. Yeah, it happened the year prior. She did it before too, where she removed him from school. Since I moved home in 2019, we've shared custody periodically until she decides that she wants to take him and not allow me to see him or for whatever. I think it's a control thing. And this was the second time. My counterclaim is for the second time.
How long was the first time?
Roughly the same time, 5 months, 6 months.
Where did you go the first time?
I didn't go anywhere. I actually received a text from his mother, Angel, to come pick up Eden. Andrew was using drugs again, and come pick up Eden would be easiest to do it while he was at school to avoid potentially traumatizing Eden.
Did you send that email?
I did not send her an email, no.
Not a text message.
I sent her a text message.
Okay, just a second. You're his mother. Come. You sent her a text message. That's not something that she would make up because I'm going to ask to see it. She's going to show me. So did there come a time when you were concerned that your son was using drugs? That's either a yes or a no. Yes. And was it at that time that you suggested she come and pick up Eden?
I told her to pick him up from school. I didn't tell her to come pick up Eden and take off for 5 months.
I didn't see him. We could have met somewhere.
I don't know. You did, in fact, remove him the second time for 6 months.
The second time, yes. I not purposefully to keep him away from Andrew. We had business to attend to, and it ended up taking a lot longer than it
Now you see him. Now you see him all the time. Is that right?
I live back at home again. Once this happened, because...
Just a second. So you live back at home with your mother?
Yes, I see him every day.
Since when?
I've been living back at home for, I think, roughly a month or so.
Where are you working?
I work for a solar company.
For how long?
I went to jail for DUI last year. I got out. That's why I'm having to do the case plan because of my DUI. That was in August 1st is when I started this job.
Okay, you working?
I am, yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a dental assistant.
Did you have a trial in the family court?
Not yet. We're still awaiting adjudication.
Of full custody?
Yes.
But the child is with you under the auspices of Child Protective Services?
Yes, her trial is the 13th of February.
For the neglect case?
Yes.
Is that correct? You have a lawyer there?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Your case against the respondent for the damage to the car 3 years ago is dismissed. Likewise is your action against her for attorney's fees, the custody. Are you appearing in that custody case?
I'm almost complete with my case plan. I will be there for that. Yes, ma'am.
Good. So I suggest we not say anything nasty about each other,
Yes, ma'am.
because there is always that strong probability that you're going to have to co-parent this child.
It's never been a problem in the past.
Good, very good. Case is dismissed. We're done.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I don't want to be a part of his life. I want him to have a part of his child's life, as I always have and have always done my best to make sure that he has.
I honestly, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. I think she was just, maybe it was just, our son was used in a way to hurt me.
Things happened with the sale of the house and the closing of the house. Deals were dropped. We were just trying to get rid of it, and it took longer than expected.
It's hard to see the fighting and the, just the separation of the family.
I was just worried. I was in mom mode, and I was worried because I know what he's capable of. I've been exposed to him while he was exhibiting behaviors that would be damaging and traumatizing to Eden.
This is my past. I mean, it's true. I'm not the same person. But
I just want to be the best parent I can be.
I hope we can parent our son together.
Sarah, there are lots of tentacles in that case.
There were?
Yeah. But if you try to take all those tentacles that we really don't have jurisdiction over, I think that they said that custody is ongoing. If you remove all those tentacles, there was an accident 3 years ago. And despite the fact that she really knew where he was, where he could be served, because she regularly brought the child over to him. And he said that for a good part of that time, she had 50-50 custody. She was perfectly comfortable with Eden staying with his paternal grandmother. Case was really about this car.
Yeah.
And he had an accident 3 years ago. They lived together, they slept together, they shared a child together. And now that he notified Child Protective Services of what he saw when he brought the child home, and she physically lost custody after an investigation, that's the motivation for filing this narration. The whole bad feeling between neighbors started because of a parking space.
She parked very close to my car, as you can see on the picture. She started parking close to me like that.
She asked you to move. Your response to her was, it's a public street, I'll park where I want to park. I'm not sympathetic with you. You called Child Protective Services based on...
She yelled at her daughter to get down, or next time she does it, she's going to beat her up, and then we heard, break your neck.
And she says, hey, get off the couch right now. I'm going to beat you up. Stop playing. Okay. I'm going to break it. Oh, she says, you're going to break your neck.
She didn't say, I'm going to break your neck. She said, you're going to break your neck.
After she threatened to beat the child up.
I still think that that's a little bit of overkill, Miss Jackson. Let's go further.
And now, the conclusion. Lynette Hernandez is suing her neighbors, Pamela Jackson and Ashley Jackson, for filing false CPS reports and defamation of character.
So the first two times that you called Child Protective Services, I think that they were iffy. And I believe, if you see something, say something. But this comes from a different place. All right.
A police officer.
Don't speak. I don't care what a police officer said to you, actually. I really don't care. You say that she called Child Protective Services in April.
April 7th.
Just a second. So Child Protective Services responded to a call on April 7th. And what was the gravamen of that call? Somebody was complaining that what? Do you know?
Yeah, she told
Not she. Somebody was complaining.
Somebody was saying that I had a knife, a child, and that I was kicking her car. The same thing she told the police officer.
April. That's what she says. So now you're going to show me proof that she called Child Protective Services in April. She acknowledges she called 3 times, all after August, either August, September, or thereafter. So show me proof that she called in April.
Just tell her to press play.
Just press play at the bottom.
All these in Galveston knew how to take care of their men, they wouldn't be paying her to take care of them. She's very proud of this. She's proud of she doesn't care that her kids are there. I've seen signs of things that have happened. There was one incident, and yes, it did get reported to CPS. Yes, there's a video out there. Now I'm going to have to go find the video where one of the guys that comes out giving her money, the daughter is sitting there kind of grabbing herself money, almost like something happened. So it's almost like Lynette actually pimped out her own daughter. What kind of mother is going to A, have do her prostitution in front of her kids, and B, allow them around her daughter?
How did you get this audio?
She posted that on TikTok. And the first time that they came, April 7th, CPS, they told me that those were the allegations that were made.
Voice, but I'm not the one that called. I learned about the allegations.
Clearly,
she called the police.
Clearly, that's your voice. And those are pretty serious allegations, because you're not only accusing her of committing a crime in front of her children, you say in this audio, which is on TikTok, is that where it is?
See if there's
People are so crazy. That she is using her daughter, who is 7. That's what you say on here. That's pretty vicious.
At the time,
Just a second. That's pretty.
Your Honor, she's claiming that I'm a prostitute.
Just a second. Does it sound as if right now, I told you, I don't care if you have to parallel park.
There's another TikTok to why that one was posted that would clear more information.
I don't care if you have something that would clear more information, madam.
She accused me of being arrested for calling CPS when I wasn't. And that particular CPS called somebody else. She called the police after
Did you post this
after
on a just a sec?
I got fired for.
That's your voice. And I don't care if you're having a private conversation with somebody, if you're saying to somebody privately, this is what I think is going on there, this is what I think. You posted this on a public platform, accusing her, not only accusing her, but saying that you saw her home being used for prostitution and her using her child for prostitution. That's what you say. Hey, that's what you say in here. And it was posted because that's the only way you get it.
Views, unlike hers that had over 4 million.
Just to say, I didn't ask you for anything. Have you ever been careful? Have you ever been arrested?
No, ma'am.
If you haven't been arrested, you couldn't have been convicted of a crime. You have 2 children. How old are they?
7 and 8.
Who do you work for?
I'm a home health caregiver for a company.
You work full-time?
Part-time, because I was a student.
Where?
In Galveston College.
Is that a brick-and-mortar school?
It's a community college.
But it's a brick-and-mortar school. It's not online.
No, it's public.
When I say it's a brick-and-mortar, it's a building rather than something in the cloud.
Yeah.
Okay. Outrageous. That's outrageous.
She ended up.
Lynette Hernandez claims her neighbor, Pamela Jackson, defamed her on social media. Pamela says she called CPS on Lynette after she witnessed abuse.
Okay, when's the 3rd time you called?
The 3rd time, she was outside with her child. Her child threw a ball at her. She took the ball and with full force, she took it and threw it at his face. She also threw it at his groin. Then when he was upset and crying, she looked at him and told him, "You've been hit harder than that in soccer."
Okay. Did you have a video
we have
of
a
that?
recording.
I'd like to see it. Which one is your phone? With a happy face or this face?
Here's the one where you can see him being hit in the groin. And then there's another one too.
I'm not sure what this is showing.
Well, she's playing ball with her 2 children out in the front. Looks like a big beach ball.
Oh, that.
And then she throws the ball in it, but it's in a in a very light-spirited way. These are not angry.
The other one's not.
These are, I got it.
Just a mother playing with her children.
CPS closed all of these cases after they came out and interviewed you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It was ruled out because they didn't find anything.
Okay, now I'm going to hear one thing from you, only one thing, and that's your counterclaim, because I don't care about police, I don't care calling the police. You're all entitled to do that. CPS is a whole different thing.
If I could add something, please?
Not unless it's on video, because what you showed me so far.
I got document for this one.
What?
We've got documentation on this one.
On what?
In retaliation, she called CPS on my daughter who doesn't have kids.
Who cares? Then your daughter's not at risk if she has no children. CPS responded based upon at least 3 times, maybe 4, but at least 3 times. And so far, nothing that I've seen, other than the fact that you were annoyed, would require or suggest child abuse or neglect. So I'm telling you, that's trouble for you. All I want to hear now is you claim she assaulted you. That's your counterclaim. I don't want to hear about anything else. You claim she assaulted you.
Well, we have two parts to that. We also have defamation.
All I care about, you have to understand, I find that what you and or your daughter did by calling Child Protective Services vindictive and vile. And it took people who should be out there really looking to take care of children who are really abused and or neglected, took their time to come out, do an investigation. Don't care. You have shown me the basis that you used to call Child Protective Services. You took the video of it. And I'm telling you, that was my business for a quarter of a century. I would never make a finding of neglect based upon anything that you had here. Anything. So now, follow directions. You know, I told you, I'm an equal opportunity abuser. I told her she's got to learn how to parallel park and not tell people where to park on the street. All I'm interested from you is tell me about this assault that you allege occurred.
The night of the assault, and we have video of it. I should get that ready.
Date, just a second. Date.
November 27th, this past year, 2022. It was in the evening. I was outside changing my cameras, and she came home and took my trash can because she had put hers in front of my car that day, or the day before, and the cops even, because at first she...
No. Don't go off on a tangent.
Okay. So she took my trash can, put it in the middle of the road. She likes to try to get me tickets, so I went to go move it. She kept pulling it and moving it back out there. So finally I went to go grab her can to move it over. Well, she ended up taking my can and going like this. Literally shoved it into me 4 times. I ended up with scratches and bruises.
Okay.
I've got back strain and it agitated my arthritis.
I'm going to see.
I've got medical records.
Just a second. I'm going to see the video of that and the police report.
Can you pull that video?
We have it on the monitor if you want to see it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm about to move it.
I don't see anything.
Your Honor, I have a video of the whole
Just a second. I don't see anything there.
Those are just clips.
Just shh. I don't see anything there. Miss Jackson, I see 2 ladies fighting over the trash cans. I don't see her assaulting you.
It was the trash can she got me with.
I don't see it. I don't see her going like this into you 4 times. I don't see that. I don't see it. Now I'll look at a police report. That's your video. Do you see her shoving a trash can into 4 times?
You can see that they come together with both trash cans, but not much more.
Stupid. People acting stupid. Nonsense. Stupid.
Your Honor, I have the video of the whole incident of how it first started.
I'd like to see it.
Because she made a... Where's my pink phone?
I gave them all
pink phone.
Every angle of it.
Because she...
Pink phone.
She lied.
Don't speak. I'm not...
And I'm going to find the video for you.
You know, I really don't care. Listen to me, Miss Hernandez.
Yes, ma'am.
Take your phone. I really don't care.
Okay.
I look there and I don't see an assault.
Okay.
I don't see an assault, and that's really all I was interested in.
Defendant Pamela Jackson is accusing her neighbor, Lynette Hernandez, of abusing her children. Lynette claims Pamela posted damaging content on her social media.
Okay. Miss Jackson, when we started out this case, I said to Miss Hernandez, in effect, don't be a big baby. You have to park your car. Learn to parallel park. And you can't tell somebody else that they can't park in front of their house. And you were absolutely right. Right? Mm-hmm. You owe her $5,000. I'm entering a judgment in her behalf of $5,000 for your erroneous call to Child Protective Services. That's my judgment. Don't do it again. Don't take. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Hey, listen to me. Listen to me. I'm speaking. You showed me your best evidence. You said I have it all recorded. Why I called Child Protective Services. You showed me. There was nothing there in the videos you showed me.
Because
this is not a because. This is not a because. This is not a because. I also find what you posted on TikTok abhorrent.
What she posted was worse. And it's viral. You didn't even give me a chance to present.
But I saw Child Protective Services, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I overheard a lot more than what was, and saw a lot more than what was being shown.
I got justice because you shouldn't waste resources, you know, on something, on accusations, sick and false like that.
I wouldn't have all these cameras if she wasn't constantly harassing me, calling the police on me.
Everybody gets along except her. She's the problem.
She wants to become TikTok famous. When she realized her videos of defamation against my mother was getting a big hit, she was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this on.
I'm not trying. It just happened.
We've tried to ignore her. She's the one that keeps doing it.
There's been things that she's done and it's just all out of pettiness.
Wait for the police to finally arrest her.
Thank you, Judy Justice.
So I have two comments.
Okay.
Because we've had lots of cases with regard to parking spaces, parking in the street, and that sort of stuff. And have neighbors start off wrong, usually because of something. This was a car thing. But you have to be sensitive to the limited resources of people who are supposed to protect children. And if you keep calling them over nonsense because it really emanated from a parking space, you touched my car, it's parked too close, that's not a tool.
Yeah.
That's not a tool. And we have to fortify that statement that it's not a tool to call a governmental agency that has limited resources because somebody's bumping into your car.
Yeah.
And there are ramifications of posting that sort of stuff without any modicum of proof.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because you're making.
I'm not sure if something weird is going on there, but those were concrete, seemingly factual statements that she was making about her neighbor that were inaccurate and, like you said, had no basis.
If true, she belongs in jail.
Yeah.
Which is not true.
No.
In my judgment, just the limited contact that I had. They both behaved badly. I was talking about this Gen, whatever it is.
Oh, us Gen Z. You realize that's my generation as well.
Yeah, yes, it is. So,
go easy on us. Remember who raised us.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Probably part of it was us. But I heard a really funny story. We were talking about this entitlement, you know, young people in entitlement. And one of my friends said, I went into a store, you know, where they usually have one shoe out, and if you want the other one, you have to ask a sales associate to please get you the other shoe to prevent people from walking out with two shoes. So he went over to the sales associate. The place was relatively empty. He said to the sales associate, could I get the mate of this shoe? And this kid, who was about 25, 28 years old, you know, looked like a schlump. His response to him was, why me? Why me? Why did you ask me? There are 4 other sales associates here who could get you the other shoe. Why did you pick me? Bizarre. I'm praying for some sort.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। इस वीडियो में ना मैं आप लोगों को बताऊंगा कि आप लोग ना यूके का अकाउंट कैसे बना सकते हैं, टिकटॉक का यूके का अकाउंट। सबसे पहले ना आपने जीमेल बना लेनी कोई भी। तो यार मेरी जीमेल पे ना बहुत ज़्यादा जीमेल लगी हुई है, तो मैं ना यहाँ पे आउटलुक की जीमेल बना रहा हूँ। चलो मैं अभी बता देता हूँ। डमी टिकटॉक अकाउंट, टिकटॉक अकाउंट यूके, टिकटॉक ठीक हो गया। क्रिएट अ न्यू वन, क्रिएट न्यू गेम पे करना था, ये लिखा, ओके ये कर दिया। डॉट, अबे क्या कह रहे हैं, ये पहले से है यूके, ये भी अवेलेबल नहीं है, चलो कोई भी लगा लेते हैं। कुछ भी टेस्ट 56 जो भी है। जीमेल नहीं लगाना, अभी चेक करते हैं। हाँ ये हो गया। पासवर्ड लगाना है, पासवर्ड कुछ भी रखो। ओके पासवर्ड रख लिया, उसके बाद ये सेव कर लिया। ओके आप रिपोर्ट तो नहीं है, चलो नेक्स्ट करके पजल सॉल्व करते हैं। ये ऐसे, ये जब आप आउटलुक की जीमेल बनाओगे ना तो आपको ये लाजमी करना पड़ना है। ये ऐसे हो गया, ये ऐसे, इस तरह ये हो गया। मतलब जिस डायरेक्शन को वो उंगली है ना, दूसरा ऑब्जेक्ट भी उस डायरेक्शन को कर देना, बस इतना सा करना। वेरीफाई हो गया जी, बिल्कुल यार, हम ह्यूमन ही है तो देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम। ओके अब साइन इन करते हैं, मेरे ख्याल से बन गया है। यार मैंने सेव ही नहीं किया। चलो आपने ऐसे ही बना लेना, तो मैं फ़िलहाल कोई भी जीमेल उठा लेता हूँ। तो आपके पास सबसे पहले ना एक सर्फ शार्प VPN होना चाहिए, कोई भी हो लेकिन पेड होना चाहिए। उसके बाद आपके पास आपने लगानी है यूके की लोकेशन। ये मैंने यूके सेलेक्ट किया, तो उसके बाद आपने आना है क्रोम पे, ये जो मर्ज़ी ब्राउज़र पे आ जाओ। कि मैं ब्रेव पे चला जाता हूँ। यहाँ पर लिखना टिकटॉक, सिंपल लिखना, ऐसे लिखा तो पहली वेबसाइट पे आ जाना आप लोगों ने। थोड़ा सा वेट करना पड़ेगा यार, थोड़ी सी ना, ये वाईफाई का इशू है या वेबसाइट का इशू। VPN ऑन किया ना तो ज़रा स्लो चलेगा, साथ रिकॉर्डिंग भी कर रहा हूँ ओवरले वाली, तो थोड़ा मसला हो जाता है। ओके लॉग इन करो, यहाँ पे साइन अप आ रहा नीचे, ऐसे करो। और आपने ना कुछ भी नहीं करना, ना आपने कंटिन्यू विद गूगल करना है या कंटिन्यू विद फेसबुक करना है, ठीक है। यूज़ फ़ोन और ईमेल करना, ठीक है। अगर आपके पास यूके की सिम है तो वो ठीक है, नहीं तो इधर आ रहा है ना साइन अप विद मेल्स, तो इधर आपने डेट ऑफ बर्थ सेलेक्ट करनी है जो भी है आपकी, ठीक है। 18 साल से ऊपर हो, मैं कुछ भी रैंडम सेलेक्ट कर लेता हूँ। यार इसका मसला ये है कि जब आप, मुझको ना ये टेक्स्ट मोड ऑफ करना पड़ेगा, फिर करते हैं। सिंपल है बिल्कुल, बस आपने ना VPN ऑन करना, उसके बाद जैसे सिंपल बनाते हैं ना, सिंपल अकाउंट टिकटॉक का, वैसे ही आपने बनाना है। ये लॉगिन पे क्लिक किया, नीचे साइन अप आ जाएगा। ये देखो ये साइन अप आया। ईमेल पे क्लिक करना है। कोई भी सिलेक्ट कर लो यार। यहाँ पे अगर आपके पास यूके की सिम है तो यूके की कर लो, तो मेरे पास तो फिर नहीं, ईमेल ही है ना, तो ईमेल ही लगानी है। कुछ भी ईमेल में याद कर लेता हूँ। अभी जो मेरे पास होगी यार, ऐसे कुछ भी फाइंडिंग वायरल मीम्स, ये देखो ये लगाई। ये इन्होंने कह देना मेरे पास लग गई, ये भी मेल मेरे पास ना पहले से लगी हुई है। अब मेरे पास कोई फ्री मेल नहीं है, नहीं तो मैं बता देता लगा के, फिर लगाने में कोई ऐड होनी नहीं, 25-30 पहले लगी हुई है। तो आप लोगों ने क्या करना, मेल बना लेनी है, उसके बाद आपने यहाँ पे मेल लगानी है, उसके बाद आपने पासवर्ड सेलेक्ट करना, उसके बाद आपको आएगा कोड, वो कोड लगा देना है, तो वो बन जाएगी। फिर 5 मिनट आपने स्क्रॉलिंग करनी है, बस इतना सा काम है।